think if I ever moved anywhere up north, now I can officially say I'd probably move to either Rhode Island or North Carolina. But don't count on it though. I'm not going anywhere.
Why is that? That seems like an odd statement.
Well, recently went on a trip. Had to travel a few states to do some work, and those were two of the states. Also went to Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And now, granted, we're only talking about the locations that I went to.
Sure.
And there's tons of statage, tons of area to look around, but those particular areas that I went to, the North Carolina area and the Rhode Island area I went to, were very nice. And another reason why it probably won't happen is because we're still talking about up north.
Yeah.
The ghost spring that we have had this year, which is now for us down here, basically just turned into summer. I realized that I went to those states at a very, I don't know, like objectively perfect time of the year for me.
Sure.
Because it wasn't cold, it wasn't hot. Matter of fact, it was almost, aside from one half rainy day, it was almost perfect temperatures for every single day. Rhode Island was very cold. Well, for me, it was cold. It was like 50 degrees until about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and that really wasn't what made it cold. It was the fact that it was constant wind blowing all morning long. I can usually stand cold weather to a point, but cold and windy, yeah.
Oh yeah, the wind is what kills me up here sometimes.
Mm-hmm. But if for some odd reason I would ever move up north, those two definitely got a solid mark in my book.
Yeah, I went to Connecticut a long time ago, and I always said if I moved up north, that would be one of my top choices.
Yeah. There's always so much to consider when you're older. I suppose if you have your head on your shoulders, you should be considering a lot of things when you're younger too. If you intentionally try to move somewhere, there's the job market in the area, there's the school, there's the education around you, the public safety, all that stuff for when you have a family. There's cost of living, taxes, like what type of businesses are around. I didn't really have time to investigate all that stuff, and I didn't really want to. But I heard some folks from Rhode Island said, yeah, it's great to move here. It's just the taxes suck and the politics suck. And I was like, well, I can understand that. You got to pay taxes regardless. So yeah, I understand that. And I don't deal with politics at all, really. So I'm one of those loser, since high school kids that doesn't really follow politics. So
yeah,
I don't know.
When I look back on it, I moved to Virginia for work. Because I was a bit desperate at the time, but that was a pretty extreme move.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never, aside from, work travel, I really hadn't been out of the Mississippi, Louisiana area. And Virginia was completely unknown to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting in a place in my life where I never realized I would ever be, which is I'm starting to lose track of all the places, both in and out of country, that I've been. There are some typical places that people have been that I have not been. Excuse me. And even talking military-wise, I've never been to Japan, neither personal or on business. I've been in Germany, as in a flight landed in a German airport, and then we flew out of Germany. I don't even know if I've stayed in a hotel in Germany. I don't think we did. Yeah, there's all sorts of major typical places that people have went. Yeah, like Italy is another one. I haven't been there. But, I've been a few places around the world, and especially around the States. There was a long time in my life where my basic training for the Army, I did it at Fort Benning, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And going to Georgia, aside from going to Missouri to visit family, And aside from going to, I think, a trip to Florida for a few days with like, it was some random event, like a neighbor of ours, they were going to Florida to go see some event and go hang out at the beaches, and they just took me with them. I had never been out of the States, or never been to other states. And now I've been to, so all those states I just mentioned, but I've already been to Virginia before. I've been to Texas. I've been to California. I've been to, of course, Alabama and Louisiana. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's still small stuff. I mean, I'm no trucker or anything, and I'm definitely not a worldly traveled man. But I was thinking about it during this trip. I was like, man, I've been to a lot of damn places now. Visiting places and living places, I get two totally different things. And most of these places, aside from like maybe long tours where I was in Iraq or something,
yeah,
all of those were, a couple days or a week or two,
Yeah,
Oh crap! There's other places I forgot too. I've been to fucking the St. Croix and Hawaii. There's yeah, man, it's getting too much now. I'm losing the ability to keep track of all these places.
Yeah, you mentioned Japan, and that reminded me. I haven't actually been like out in Japan, but on one of my mini trips to and from Korea, I think this was a trip to, we had a layover in Japan, and that was my only layover I've ever had there. But I went to a restaurant in the airport and had curry, and this was authentic Japanese curry. That was amazing.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a pilot who was telling me about Japan. So I had, it's funny how this conversation even started. First off, hello everyone, and welcome to the End of Time. I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
So I was talking to a pilot, and I had a shirt on. I have a one of those 72 fucking t-shirts I own, Chris.
Yeah.
Those video game and anime shirts. I had a Section 6 shirt on, which Section 6 for those who know is from Ghost in the Shell. That's basically the operation that Motoko Kusanagi was in. And it's just one of my shirts, nothing big, nothing flamboyant. It doesn't say like Ghost in the Shell on it, but it does have some Japanese writing above the actual word section. And he was like, "Hey, what's that code for?" I was like, "We're talking about." He goes, "Well, with the Japanese, can you read it?" I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure it says Section 6." He goes, "All right, is that like were you stationed there?" I was like, no. But he had been there a couple times, both on his dime and on the military's dime, and we just talked about Japan for a while and all the places he's been. I was asking him questions about old school, like really old historical Japanese places. He said, yeah, those are really nice. He's been to them. And I was like, man, I bet you had some of the best damn sushi. He's like, man, you have no idea. He's like, I lived on the coast my whole life. He's like in his 50s or something. And he's like, I've ate every single sushi place on the coast multiple times, and of course all around the country and damn near all around the world, but it does not hold a candle like he said there is no sushi that I've had at any restaurant I've ever been to anywhere other than Japan. Like, Japan's authentic. You get it right here. I'm like, it can't be like that damn different, because there's good sushi. He's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It is. Yeah, I don't know if it's the ingredients or the fact that I was eating it in Japan or what, but I know that he was like, the first place I had one was off like a cart almost on the streets. It wasn't even a restaurant. It was just passing through the streets. He's like, I'm gonna give you some advice. Don't ever put your hand up to scratch your head or scratch your eye or just scratch the back of your head, because you'll end up buying something. You'll end up buying like a $400 salmon you don't even know, because they're always selling stuff all over the streets of Japan, and they're just looking for somebody to put their hand up to buy something. He was like, yeah, it was like the first night, him and his wife and his kids, they were just walking through the street to get to their hotel or pagoda, whatever they were staying at. And the kids were starving. She was starving. He was like, well, hell, let's stop. He's just right here. We'll just stop right here and we'll grab some of the sushi. He's like, this shit was on the street. It was just a guy selling sushi on the street. And it was already some of the most delicious sushi I've ever had. That wasn't in a restaurant. Fine cut, fine made, all that. So
Right.
I was like, man, you really cooking me here, man. I really want to go to Japan like right now. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the sushi thing. I don't like sushi, but I've been doing a lot of thinking lately because I work from home, which means I can work from anywhere. So I'm like, if I wanted to make a trip to, say, Japan, I could, pack up a computer, enough hardware to do my job, and just like spend however long I wanted to somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's really tempting.
Yep. When you work from home and your own boss, man, you're afforded all that stuff. I'm finding myself incredibly fortunate for the job I have. No, I'm not my own boss and I don't work for myself, but I'm getting to go all over the place. It's especially true now that I'm in the Air Force as opposed to being in the Army. But yeah, man, it's also the unit we're in too. I mean, we're world famous and all that stuff. So it's nice. It's unexpected and nice. Thankfully, my wife is really supportive about it. That was always a big concern of mine before I even took the main job, was that, look, if I'm going to be this dedicated, I'm going to be in this group, and they go all over the place all the time. And it's pretty much understood in my household that if I'm going on a trip somewhere for a few weeks, it's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But just don't go to the desert anymore. I'm like, well, I'll do my best. So, yeah. Anyway, so I guess we could. I don't know how I want to do this because I don't really have a topic this week. I did skim a bunch of news articles, so I mean, we'll be spending a good chunk talking about news. That might be just what today is.
Yeah, I think we have two big things we can talk about today.
Perfect. If you want, we can just kick off weeks then. And I think it's my turn. Am I right?
That is correct.
I might be. Awesome. That is the extent. That is the maximum use of my memory. I have now used it on this episode. I can never remember anything else for the rest of the year.
All right, I'll get my fact checking ready.
Yeah. So yeah, folks. This is going to be a very light week for me as far as gaming and all that goes, because I've been on the road since pretty much Sunday night, the night after our recording, and we did record on a Saturday, didn't we? Or no, we recorded Friday.
Maybe.
I think we recorded Friday. Anyway, it's been a week, and I haven't been at the house all week. Got back home last night. Of course, I'm one of those cats that whenever I get home, I like to unpack and like have everything done out of the way. Like if there's chores, if there's laundry, dishes, unpacking all the stuff that I packed. Work can wait depending. I can always do my work at work, but I like to come home and have hopefully to have nothing to do at all, or at least get it all done. So came home and got all my shit unpacked, and I played a little bit of games last night. But as far as this week goes, not really at all. I played a little bit more Sekiro. I'm gonna kind of flip this script because usually I do the non-video game stuff first, but I got more non than video gaming this week, obviously. So I've been playing Sekiro still, and I am to the I forget. I think his name is like the Guardian Monkey or Guardian Ape or something. Folks that know where I'm at will know what I'm talking about. And I have died to this guy quite a many times, but it's a big dance, just like it is with any other boss in this game, and much like all the bosses I've had before this one. I realize that I've not been talking a lot about the bosses, and I don't know if that's because most of them have been kind of easy now, or I'm going to say it's partially that. That's a good chunk of it is the fact that I haven't really died to a lot of them. And plus, Chris hasn't gone all the way through this. Do you plan on going through Sekiro anymore? I mean, there's no pressure, of course, but I don't want to start blabbing about Sekiro shit if you have any plans at all to go through the game.
Yeah, I do. I just don't know when it'll be yet. I have to get in that mindset to be willing to deal with that punishment.
I feel you. And it's I got to tell you, man, it is something because hear me out before you make a judgment, audience. I actually thought about stopping Sekiro full stop all the way and pushing it to way later this year, maybe even next year, only because I'm really gearing my mind up for this year about trying to do a lot of my backlog. And Sekiro is going to take another good month for me at least. I mean, I'm already behind the curve, and beating a game, number one, on any difficulty, or two, in an amount of time means nothing to me. So I'm not trying to race anybody to beat this game. I'm saying that it's been out. It was like a month before I could even start playing it. So while this game is being sped run beyond all belief by this point, I'm still working through it. And I got to thinking, man, if I was watching a few on the flights themselves. I was watching a few Nintendo and Super Nintendo and PlayStation game reviews here and there, and just reminding myself that, yeah, that's one I never played. I really should get into that. There's another game I really should play. I need to get into that. A lot of Game Boy Advance games that I've never played, and I really wanted to get into them. Even, I mean, that old school backlog. Yeah. And I was like, man, if I'm gonna do that, I need to stop playing Sekiro, because I'm going to knuckle down this game until I beat it, and that's gonna be, from this recording, probably another month, if not more. And I really did think about it and thought about it. I said, you know what? I've already had my breakthrough with this game. I've already had my oh shit. I've already had my Dark Souls moment. I want to go ahead and finish it. It's not, I will tell you now, Chris, it's not a super high octane power drive like Dark Souls ever was for me, or even Bloodborne, but it's more of a principle thing now. You know, I've come this far. I want to go ahead and see it through and get it out the way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm still playing through that. And you know, like I said earlier, I don't want to get into specifics because Chris knows there's a big monkey boss now, so there's that shocker will be spoiled for you. But there's other shocking bosses in this game, which I'm saying this because I know the audience is like, man, you're just blowing through Sekiro, and you and Chris had a whole episode talking about God of War, but you're just blowing through a From Software game. What's up? And again, it's for a couple reasons. One, I don't want to spoil anything, and two, I kind of want to save everything for when I'm finished. But yeah, I'm playing through it. And it's going to be my main go-to game. When I get frustrated or fed up, I do have the smaller platform Metroidvania-ish game I'm still playing here and there. And I did mispronounce it last episode. It's not Abellos, A-B-B, it's Aggelos. And I'm maybe pronouncing the name wrong, but it's A-G-G-E-L-O-S. And yeah, it's just a little filler game, you know, a little platforming, little Metroidvania, nice little 8-bit style graphics and music. It's entertaining. It's an in between. I don't know. I mean, as a random offshoot thing, I don't know if I brought this up before, but I've had Gears of War 4 purchase for a few months now. I purchased this back in the day on a sale for like, I don't know, $5 or something. And I just randomly came across an email while I was looking for something. Oh yeah, I did purchase that. I need to download that. So I have that off to the side as well. I don't know what I'm going to work on first when I do finish Sekiro. I'm going to try to do my little idea of doing a solid console for a month. Like maybe June will be a Nintendo month, July will be a PlayStation month, August will be a Game Boy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how all that plays out. But the hard problem, this is something else we discussed a little bit last episode. The hard problem, Chris, is fucking getting a backlog idea together, period. Mm-hmm. At this point, it's just going through the entire library of the games, of the consoles, and just, yeah, I'll play that, I'll play that, I'll play that. But I tried it again. I went to the backloggery, and I mean, man, I get what they're going for. I get it. It does work for what they have designed it for. You can search for a game. You can put if you've played it, if you've beaten it, if you've 100%ed it, if you've got it, if you want to put it on your backlog and all these other various options, you can put in little details. You can make a whole little bio for an individual game. And that's cool. That's awesome. But the problem is I have played hundreds of video games, if not I probably capping at 1,000 by now. And I have, if not the same amount, if not twice as many games in a backlog mentality. That would take me the rest of this year to log all that stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be as I either come across it or if shit comes my way, I'll play it. I don't really have a set schedule or a set plan right now. But I'm really digging the idea of trying to dig in and get a good backlog year out of this. So those are the only 2 games. I did bring my Switch with me on the trip, but I didn't even break it out once. I know, gasp, shock, and awe. There's nothing on there I'm seriously working on. I do have Yoshi's Crafted World that I'm stepping my way through, and I have the Kirby's game, Kirby's I forget which one it was, and I'm playing through that as well, but nothing that wasn't like burning me to pull out my Switch and play. So I did bring a metric ton of anime with me because it dawned on me that all these trips I've been going on, I could totally, I mean, we have a Crunchyroll account, so spend this time when I'm in the hotel rooms, not here with my consoles and my PCs, and just catch up on some anime.
Sure.
And the first one I wanted to watch was an anime that Adam had everybody's recommended me hundreds of anime, but he's really been harping on this anime series called Re:Zero. It's a series about a guy who I forget what the title is. It's where you get transported to a fantasy world. It has its own term. It's one of those, but the catch with this one is it's like a Groundhog Day effect. Whenever he dies, he comes back to a certain point, and apparently that point gets moved further throughout the series. And yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to check it out, and he's really, really been harping on me to check it out. And I was like, well, when I go on this trip, I'll do it. And the anime that I had with me didn't have it had English subtitles, but it had another language that I don't understand. So it was not Japanese and wasn't English, so I really wasn't wanting to watch it. So I went to my Crunchyroll account and started watching that, but the problem is I was in hotel rooms and their Wi-Fi that you get is either 1, not free, so I wasn't using it, or 2, watching a 22-minute episode took about an hour, and I just could not, man. I tried to like load it, like I don't know what it is about, and I've noticed YouTube does this as well. It used to be back in the day, you could take a video, let's say a video was 20 minutes long, and you knew you had a shitty internet connection. You could start the video loading, pause it, and let that bitch just buffer/download all the way through. Yep. And when you saw that the buffering had caught up, or the downloading buffering was finished, you could press play and watch the whole thing. Now it's like they only buffer like 2 or 3 minutes at a time. So yeah, I had so I watched episode 1, got that out of the way, had a lot of hassle, but I watched it. The next night, so I didn't watch anything else that night. I did other stuff. I didn't watch any anime that night. Did some other stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. Second night, I started to watch the second episode. Had the same problem in a new hotel room. Same problem. But this time, when I finished, I was like, okay, now this shit's starting to get good. I'll start episode 3. I started it, paused it, left my phone on the charger in the hotel room, went across the street with all the people we flew with, had dinner, so about an hour and a half, came back, and that bar had moved like 4 fingernails over. That was it. It's like, what the fuck? So I watched it up to that point, paused it, and just let it sit there, and then watched the buffer go and go and go over like 10 minutes, and then stop. Yeah. hate that. I hate that with a passion. So I gave the fuck up on watching that. I will watch that and other anime whenever I feel like it in the future. That was really frustrating. So mostly what I did on my trip in my pastime, besides hang out with the crew and everything, was watch movies. And it wasn't anything too important. Excuse me, nothing really noteworthy. Like I watched Logan again. I watched Infinity War again. Just a few random spotty movies here and there. But I do want to touch on a couple. One is this. Oh, I need to go find it. It's actually on my drive here as well. It's the I want to say it's the standoff at Sparrow Creek. Let me make double sure before I lie on this movie. Vamping. The standoff at Sparrow Creek. Okay, yeah, that's right. Unknown movie, understandable. A lot of these are about apparently these group of people are in a militia, U.S. militia, and one night out of the blue, a bunch of cops get shot up, and they're blaming it. Well, the movie starts out with these clues coming together with these people. When shit goes down in the town, these guys will get together because they're in the militia. And they get together and start talking. They're like, okay, well, somebody in this armor that we have shot up a whole bunch of cops using this weapon, which we have. They're going to think it's us. And they're like, no, it's none of us. So we need to fucking batten down the hatches here and figure out what we can do. And they go back to get their guns to post up in case shit goes down. And they find a gun's missing. And they go through their armory and find armor's missing. And they're like, oh, okay, so one of us did it. So who the fuck did it? And that's how the movie plays out for a good while. Very understated movie. It's nothing. It's nothing flashy or showy. It's man versus man type intensity. A lot of situations, a lot of interrogations and all that stuff, but just the way it is shot, the way the lack of music plays out, the different characters and their roles, I really enjoyed it. But I do want to touch on and emphasize a movie that I have seen in my life probably about 15 times, and given the nature of it, that seems absurd because this movie is I don't want to. It's not a mystery. It's a suspense type mystery. It's a movie that the whole time you're scratching your chin going, what the fuck is going on here? And that movie is Lucky Number 11. Chris, have you heard of or seen this movie? Okay. No. This is definitely a well-rounded, well-directed, well-put-together movie. And I found two things while watching this movie again. And I say the reason why it's absurd that I have seen this movie so many times is because the whole movie is essentially like a mystery, and you're trying to figure out how all these pieces are coming together. And at the end of the movie, it is an enormous oh fuck, oh wow, it is one of those. But once you know that, you now know the movie. I don't watch this to refigure out the movie. I do pick up on certain things here and there that I didn't see. That is one aspect, I guess. Watching a mystery all the way through, having the aha moment given to you, and then rewatching a movie, it does put some more things in perspective. And I mean, I've that's happened plenty of times while watching this movie, but I watched this movie not only for that, but for the characters themselves, the way it plays out, the direction. It's a well-shot movie as well. It's criminally unheard of and unknown, and it was to me as well. I watched this movie years and years and years ago on a whim. If you need a stellar actor to put in your face to make you get on board, I mean, it does have Morgan Freeman and Bruce Willis in it. Those two are not the predominant characters, though. And I need to look up his name right now so I do him justice. Lucky Number 11. That is the name, by the way, Slevin. And you find out where that name comes up later in the movie. Slevin Kalevra is the main character, and he is played by Josh Hartnett, who is another one of those kind of unknown actors, but everything I've seen him in, I've loved him in. The second thing I've discovered, so the first thing I discovered about this movie is that it's hard to, it's very difficult to explain this movie and get people interested in it without spoiling it. I found that very difficult. And I'm going to try my best to do it here in just a few minutes, but the idea is some bad shit happened back in the day between a couple of gangsters. Like, this shit got real bad. It got so bad that they have locked themselves up in their own penthouse apartments and have been locked up in their own apartments for years. I want to say decades. And some shit goes down with a character that he's completely thrown into this mix. He's thrown in the middle of these two gangsters, unbeknownst to him, like out of his will, out of his control. He keeps being pushed and pushed in these bad situations, and he finally just has to like kind of fucking shrug and say, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to fucking roll with this now, and he rolls with it. But the whole time this movie's going on, you're trying to figure out what's up with these two gangsters, what's going on between all these people. Like, why is all this stuff acting the way it is? And the last 20 minutes or so, when everything starts unfolding, it's so fucking good. And I haven't watched this movie in like 3 or 4 years, and watching it again today, or this past week, it was so great to see it again. It's a great movie. I recommend it for anybody. I would say it's hard for me to put this in perspective because it's been years since I first seen it. I don't even remember when I first seen it. This movie came out in 2006. I probably saw this thing in 2009 or so. I don't even remember. But I will say that it does hold up, definitely. But this is one of those movies where I will say pay attention. But this is not like Primer, where you have to sit down completely focused on everything, pause, take notes. It's not like that. The movie is well directed and well paced. And if you're paying attention, not in a super note way, but just keeping faces in mind, not even really names, just faces and things you see, you'll keep it all together. And when it wraps up gorgeously. It is so fucking good of a movie. Unknown, out of left field movie for me that I watched years ago, and I'm glad I did. So I wanted to give some shout out to that movie. Another movie that I didn't watch, but on the same vein of like random, okay, whatever movie, was Smoking Aces. That's another one. I think I watched Smoking Aces and Lucky Number 11 around the same time. And that as well is a fucking great movie. So I love when movies like this happen. I love when I'm getting these random recommendations from who knows where, and I check it out and I'm blown away. Lucky Number 11 was definitely one of them. Yeah. That goes for you too, Chris, but for anybody, I recommend you watch this movie any way you can, as soon as you can. It is very good. It will engage you immediately. I think that's it. Fortunately / unfortunately. I mean, like I said, it's been a week without gaming pretty much, except for right before I left and right when I came home. And, I mean, it was nice to watch Infinity War again, as it always was. And I'll tell you now, Chris, after seeing Endgame 3 times and now watching Infinity War again a few days later, I stand behind my statement. Endgame was good. It was damn good. But I really like Infinity War better. It's, man, from the landing of the ship on the planet, and the fights with Maw and the all the characters coming together, that moment whenever it transitions from people on Earth going to the galaxy, and that fucking music kicks in, and you know that music's going to the Guardians of the Galaxy. All just so many moments. That's one thing I've heard a lot about people that say Infinity War is better than Endgame, is the flow. And I do see how Endgame has a flow. I can follow it, but I guess it's because of the time heist and the way things are having to jump around. It tricks you to thinking it doesn't have good flow. It does have good flow, but Infinity War, it's just it's a rocket. It just keeps going and keep going. And I gotta say, it would probably be down to the point, Chris, where I would have to watch them back to back to decide which fight scene I like more. The fight on Titan with the, 5 or 6 people versus Thanos in the gauntlet, or everybody versus everybody in Endgame. I don't know. It's hard. Endgame has its moments, but Infinity War does too. So, I don't know. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice seeing that again and just reaffirming it. But they're both good, man. They're both good. All right. Yeah, that's going to do it for me. That's it for my week. How's yours been?
All right. So my week is going to be sort of not a whole lot to it as well. First thing I did was I continued the Lunar 2 comparison. And I need to go back and see how long that actually took me. I'm terrible about tracking my times. But I finished it up. I didn't do any epilogue stuff, but man, it was kind of sad for it to come to an end because I've been enjoying this so much. And I talked last week about how, there was a lot of stuff I didn't remember, and then I'd see stuff that was familiar. I'm pretty sure I never actually beat Eternal Blue before. I put hundreds of hours into Silver Star, but I put some time into Eternal Blue, and I think last week I mentioned that I beat the hardest boss in the game, and I was moving on from there. I think that boss, the same one I was referencing last week, is as far as I got. I think it just probably stomped me or something, and as a younger kid, I just went back to Silver Star because I had more fun. Yeah. I wasn't getting my butt kicked as much.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I don't think I ever beat it. I know I started it several times and played through parts of it several times, but I can now say I beat it at least.
Yeah, good.
So overall, I don't know that I have a whole lot to add to what I've already said about the comparison, but Eternal Blue, Sega CD to PlayStation, is a much closer comparison, or a much closer remake than Lunar 1 to PlayStation, because they used the Lunar 2 system. There were maybe 3 plot points where they kind of either added something in that wasn't there in the other one, or that was in Sega CD, or the other way around, but ultimately it didn't change anything. There were a couple names they changed as well. They referenced the Cult of Althena in Sega CD, but they're called the Chosen in PlayStation. Totally doesn't matter. Other than when you play on Sega CD, you're like, really, a cult? This is what, the followers of Althena are being called? It seems a little bit negative, if you will. And Althena's followers are, supposed to be these good, holy people, so why would you call them a cult? Yeah. So it seems a little odd that they would call them a cult, so I don't care about the change. It doesn't change anything about the story. But overall, it was a nice, refreshing change from the Lunar 1 comparison, and not have it be such a drastic mess, if you will. I still think Lunar 1 is my favorite of the games on Sega CD, of course. But I'm having a hard time deciding if I actually prefer the Lunar 2 remake or the Sega CD game. They're so close in how they play and stuff. Because on Sega CD, I really like the Magic Experience system, which I've talked about before. But there's you have a little bit more flexibility on PlayStation because you don't have to worry about that. Or I guess maybe it's the opposite. You have too much flexibility on Sega CD. So there are times where it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to just grind out Magic Experience so I can level all these things up. Whereas on PlayStation, it's like, okay, I don't need to worry about that. Of course, the mana efficiency, always a hassle on the remake because they made things so much more expensive and didn't give as much MP. There are several spells I never bothered with throughout the entire game. Not that, that can't be said for Sega CD,
right.
but it wasn't. In PlayStation, it's more because I couldn't afford to use them. On Sega CD, it was that I didn't feel the need to use them. A little bit different. Same result, but a little bit different. The cutscenes in the remake, amazing. Yeah. Especially getting towards the end of the game. The cutscenes are pretty similar overall, but because of the updated graphics, the updated style, it just makes it look so much better. And that's kind of what gives me the most pause when I'm comparing the two, is that they are able to make these scenes much more impactful with different art styles and whatnot. So really close. I have not gone back to do epilogue stuff yet. I started on Sega CD, mainly because I needed something else to do. So, all right. So I was streaming this as I did the entire process and got to the end, and I was at the ending. Final boss is going to happen, and I know that, so I'm like, all right. So I set them up and I'm like, all right, let's watch the Sega CD ending. Get about 75% through, and then it freezes.
Oh, no.
And there was no save point between the boss and this cutscene.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, to go back and watch this, I'm going to have to beat the boss again. So, you know what, let's just go watch the PlayStation ending. And I'll come back to it because it's already getting late. And I got my butt kicked the first couple times on the Sega CD boss. So I went to PlayStation, watched it, and I was like, all right, cool. And that's where I ended the stream because it was, like I said, already late. And I didn't want to have to take all the time to go back and beat the boss. So I was like, all right. So I beat the boss off stream, got to, basically right before the cutscene that froze. I actually did a save state because I'm playing on emulator. So I did a save state where it was safe and not, the cutscene wasn't already started or anything. I was like, all right, if it messes up this time, I'm prepared. And loaded it up, watched it, no problem. I'm like, well, that took all of, 15 minutes, however long the ending actually was. So I was like, well, I'll start some epilogue stuff just to look and see what it entails, you know. So I put roughly 2 hours into that, and a lot of that, probably an hour of it, was grinding some experience, because there was a spot that was really good for experience, and a lot of the epilogue stuff is really difficult. So I was like, all right, I'll go do some grinding and then push through epilogue stuff, which I did. And I'm not done with the epilogue. I maybe did, depending on how I look at it, if I go back and do some of the stuff I skipped while playing through the main game. There was a couple optional things I didn't do for the sake of time. I'm maybe either a third or halfway, depending on how much I want to do of the epilogue. So I kind of have that on the back burner to go back and do some time. And then I think the PlayStation version has even more stuff to do than the Sega CD. So I'll probably need, another 6 hours or so on PlayStation to go through all that. But man, Lunar is such a great game. Lunar 1 and 2. There are some others that are, offshoots. There's a Sega Saturn thing. Actually, Sega Saturn is the same as the remake. There's, what am I thinking of? There's a Game Gear game, which looks horrendous. And then there's a DS game, which I loaded up, but I don't know if I'm going to like the style of it. So I have to play around with that a little bit more to see if I'm actually going to give it a shot and whatnot. I also couldn't find either of those available to buy as far as, on the Nintendo store or something like that. So I'll probably have to get physical copies of them if I want to play them physically or whatnot. But after that, I actually skipped Mario Monday for doing the ending over and a little bit of epilogue. But I was okay with that because I, on Tuesday, started Mario May. I've had a lot of fun playing the ROM hacks and whatnot I have been doing for my Mario Mondays. And I don't think I beat 100% all the way to ending a single Mario game. I've played a lot of Mario, but I don't think I ever actually beat any of them. Either because I didn't actually own the game, or I just never put enough time, no saves, etc. in the old school type games. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take some time this month, especially with Mario Maker 2 coming out next month, and I'm probably going to jump into that. I was like, I want to play some old school Mario. So I decided I'm going to play Super Mario World. Vanilla, no ROM hacks, no customization, just the OG Super Mario World. And boy, is this a lot harder than I remember. It has a really steep difficulty curve around like the third world, I think it is. Something like that. And so it took me just a few, like 5 minutes over 8 hours to beat the game. And that is with, it's either 72 or 76 exits. I had purposely been going through and trying to find all the secret exits I could. Playing every level, not skipping any when I unlock shortcuts, etc. But it's been a whole lot of fun, and there are things in the game that I'm kind of surprised at, especially difficulty-wise, because when I see a lot of ROM hacks and a lot of Kaizo games, it's like, all right, well, this is custom, these are things that, the game didn't do, etc. So the line between, what's in a Nintendo design level and what's in a Kaizo level, it's a pretty typical split, or at least so I thought, but there are some levels where I'm like, okay, this is like borderline Kaizo difficulty without, some of the Kaizo tricks, if you will. But man, it's kind of funny. I got, let's see, I said 8 hours to beat. I think the last 5 or 6 levels were 2 hours of that. Because I breezed through the early parts. And then I got to the forest, and then I game over it back to back twice. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to go save, complete a ghost house or whatever to save more often. Because these levels are getting harder, and 5 lives ain't enough. And the first game over, I had built up, because I went through the first, couple worlds almost without dying. I had like 15 lives or something like that, just naturally accrued, and I burned through all of them all of a sudden. But it's such a good game, so much fun. I'm currently at 89 exits. I'm up to roughly 10 hours 20 minutes in it, so I am all the way to the special world, whatever it's called. So I have 7 more exits, and I can say I 100% the game.
Nice.
I don't know what I'll move on to after this. I don't know if I want to stick to a Super Mario World kind of theme and go play some of the other ROM hacks, just not, one day at a time, or one day a week, I should say. Or if I want to go back and actually play, 1, 2, and 3, or Yoshi's Island, etc. I'm not sure yet what I want to play next.
Well, thankfully with the Mario franchise, you got a shit ton to pick from. I mean, there's a major game for every console. Some of them have multiple. Not counting, I mean, there's also the Game Boy Color, the 3DS. I mean, there are a ton of Mario games to pick from. I kind of like the idea of you doing it random. That's just, you don't, that way people are, all right, well, he's going to play Mario 2 next. He's going to play Mario 3 next. Just, yeah, whatever suits your fancy, man. You'll get around to it.
Yeah. Let's see. I dabbled in a little bit of Magic, just enough to do some basically just doing dailies, and I'm not even playing every day anymore. I'll log in to see what my quests are, and you can reset one quest a day if you don't want what it's asking you to do. You can reset once a day. But the bigger part of this is sometimes daily quests can give you 750 coins versus 500. So I don't care what it is. If it's 500, I'll hit reset on it. And once I have the 3 slots full, because that's how many quests you can hold, it's like, all right, I'll do a couple of them at least. Especially if I have 750 ones, I'll focus on those. And then I'll let it sit for a couple of days with, just logging into reset, depending on how much time I have. Like today I played because I didn't know when we were going to start recording. So I was like, this is a good time to get caught up on some Magic. With the latest expansion out, I'm totally out of the loop on meta right now. So I had, the other day, opened up and started a match, and man, I immediately got murdered because there were cards I'd never seen, and some of my decks don't do well against those, and then there are some decks that are just too controlling that murder everything I'm doing anyway.
Yeah, it's the way that shit goes, man.
Yeah, so it's really difficult. I want to play more Magic, but I don't like relearning the meta. Yep. So it's basically what I need to do is sit down, because I have like 30,000 gold again. So I'll probably sit down and do, maybe 3 drafts back to back just to get familiar with the cards and how they play before trying to adjust my main decks to match those, if you will.
Yeah.
I actually did not watch anything this week. I'm again trying to not destroy my, life with continuing Gotham Season 2. So every time I'm like, man, I don't know what to do now. I'm like, I could go watch Gotham, but then I probably won't do anything for the next 3 days. So I'm trying to restrain myself and do that.
It's kind of that.
I think that's it for my week.
Kind of a little bit the same for me with Game of Thrones. Now, I may have mentioned before, I like catching all the episodes for an entire season at once. That way, I don't know, it works better for my mentality. But more and more people keep telling me how great this season is, and plus avoiding spoilers now is becoming nigh impossible. I mean, Jesus.
Yes. I guess I should say I am watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't been talking about it. I typically watch it Monday mornings, but it's gotten so bad now that I pretty much watch it Sunday nights.
Yeah.
At some point, and I'm avoiding social media either way until I watch it, because it is absurd.
Yeah.
And especially with me trying to be more active on social media for my stream and whatnot, it's been a pain. As far as the season goes, I've actually talked a lot with Adam about this. I had to slap him on his hand about spoilers as well. He posted something in my Discord and I had to delete it, and I was like, don't do that. It was a very tame, but after watching the episode, because I hadn't seen the episode yet at that point either. So watching the episode, I was like, okay, this is what he's referencing. So it was, too much of a spoiler for my liking.
Yeah.
But I've been talking to him about it, and it's a very interesting season. We have 2 episodes left because this is the last season, and it's 6 episodes long. And this week was episode 4. Excuse me. So the first few were interesting. It was a slow build up, to episode 3, and it's one of those things where the pacing of the season is very odd, because every time I watch episode, I'm like, okay, I can see what they're doing here, and then I stop and think and go, there aren't that many episodes left.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that need to get resolved.
Oh boy, I feel like Bleach all over again. I don't know if I've ever told that story on here, but I will in a minute.
Yeah, so I'm still watching it. I overall enjoy it, as a franchise, and it's been so long since I saw, the season 7, etc. All that time in between, I didn't rewatch anything before this, so I'm kind of almost fresh in it, watching it. Yeah, I'm reserving judgment until episode 6 is done.
Yeah. I feel like I rest comfortably in the middle ground of Game of Thrones. I don't play to the party that religiously follows it, and I don't play to the other party, the too cool for school kids that don't watch it. I fall in the middle. I watch it. I watch it at my own pace when I choose to watch it. And as a whole, the series so far has been pretty good. It's not blown my socks off, but I mean, I've made this too cool for school statement for a long time, and I've played tons of games that have all this shit all around it. I mean, I challenge people to go play something like the Legacy of Kain series or even Mass Effect. I mean, it's really difficult for a series to wow me, and I found that throughout this. Like, I won't lie, man. When the red wedding happened in Game of Thrones, I honestly had to go look, and I was more concerned with what the fuck just happened, and the shock of it was lost on me. I'm also very dumb, so that's understandable, but everybody and their mother, when that shit happened, they were like, man, mum's the word. We're not talking about it, but you have got to see this episode. And I'm like, okay. And maybe that was a part of it. Maybe it got overhyped because, again, you think Clash of Clans is bad. Good God. Game of Thrones is way worse. Like, everybody watches it. And every time something happens across the globe, people have to talk about it. And just kept on and kept on. It's like, yeah, the Red Wedding. I heard so much about I was in like season 2 when I heard about the Red Wedding. And I was like, I'm nowhere near there, folks. I'm not. So y'all keep building this up, but I don't even know what the fuck this is. And then when it happened, I was like, wait. Shit, what did I miss? Why is this important? Like, it's gruesome. It's bad. But why did this happen? And I had to go back and have it explained to me. Oh, okay. Well, I get it. Everyone's like, it wasn't shocking? I was like, well, yeah, it was. It was gruesome, but I completely lost track. I don't know if like maybe I took too much of a break between seasons, or maybe that might be a negative consequence of watching episodes or watching seasons thoroughly, especially stuff like Game of Thrones, because you have to cram a lot in your brain. Like, you have to keep track of a lot of details, a lot of people's names, where people are from, who the fuck they're talking to, who they're friends with, who they're enemies with, and back and forth, and yada yada. And I can do that, but there's a lot of shit. So when the Red Wedding happened for me, I was like, wow, that was fucked up. But, well, why did this happen? Oh, okay. Sometime in my life, Chris, I'm going to binge watch Game of Thrones entirely. And sometime in my life, I'm going to binge watch the entire MCU again entirely. When that'll be, I don't know. Maybe when I'm retired. But it can't be anytime soon, man. I've got too many games, too many anime to catch up on. That's one thing I will say about my life. Whenever I do retire, another 20-something years from now, my retirement's going to be fucking nice. To wake up whenever I want to and not have to go to work and automatically gain an extra 8 hours of my day back. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Yeah. All right, let's dig into some news. That's probably going to take up the rest of this episode.
All right.
We'll save a couple big things for the end, but I perused through some news articles here and there. Saw some stuff worth talking about. I've been hearing a lot of people breathe down my neck about going to play Apex Legends. And yeah, I feel like I want to at some point, but I couldn't play Overwatch, I couldn't play Fortnite, and I just feel like I can't play Apex Legends either. I can't get into these games where it's online multiplayer. I just don't have enough time, man. I really don't. But I'm happy that things are going good for for the Titanfall team. There was a positive and a negative. The negative is that I believe they had a skin come out, a skin patch, and it ended up fucking up a lot of people's accounts or something. That sucks. Shit like that happens. I'm sure they fix it up and tidy it up.
Yeah, real quick to speak on that. So they released a patch that, and what happened, what we found out afterwards was one of the databases was switched to basically a dev one. So everybody's accounts didn't exist on that dev database or secondary database. So they're like, yeah, don't buy anything. We're going to fix it. And they just basically, flip the switch back on that. And everybody's stuff was fine.
Nice. A little hiccup. No big deal. Shit happens. But the positive from this company, I love this article. Apex Legends bans up to 770,000 as the company continues to fight against cheaters. I like that. Jesus. Close to 1 million people kicked off of this game because of cheating. I said it before. I'll say it again. If you buy a video game and you play that thing single player, and you either go to GameFAQs and look up a guide, or watch YouTube videos as a guide, or get a cheating device to play it, or get a trainer, or use Cheat Engine, or whatever, do that how you want to. I am educated enough in the gaming world to understand somebody saying they're frustrated enough and they just want to fucking move beyond an obstacle. I'm also educated enough to know that people say they want to wait, they're tired of wasting time. There are games where this is an exception. I do feel that taking away all the challenge of a game really defeats the purpose of a game. Defeats one of the purposes of a game. Not the only purpose. But this is something I read about actually a few days after the episode where I talked about presenting like God of War to somebody. Give them a PlayStation 4, give them all the hookups, controller, and give them God of War, and tell them if they want to, they can put the difficulty all the way to easy. And I watched a video where a guy made a very good solid case about, that's defeating lots of purposes, and that's really going against the grain, and you're not presenting a game in its true form if you do that. And I get that. However, I realize I'm tangenting now, Chris, forgive me, but hear me out. If I give somebody, let's say Chris has never played games before. He's my brother. He did whatever else in life. He said, nah, I'm not into video games. I let him borrow my PlayStation 4. I let him borrow God of War. And he picks a controller like, dude, I don't know how to even use this, man. Like, this, I guess I'm going to use it kind of like a remote. No, man. You use this stick and okay. Way too many buttons. Way too much shit. Like, I don't know how to play video games. All right, we'll put this shit on easy and do what the controls on the screen tell you to do, and you can go through it. Imagine a month later, Chris comes to me and says, hey, man, I beat the game, and my God, what a great experience that was. Chris can play the same game again and bump the difficulty up if he wants to, if he found it challenging, but that's not even the case. There are hundreds of thousands of other video games out there in the world. He doesn't have to play the next one on super easy mode. He can play the first 10, 20, 30 games of his life on super baby easy mode and then start bumping his difficulty up as he wants to. I'm not advocating somebody if that was the case, just watch a video game movie on YouTube and don't ever play video games. Like, if that's what it would take. But I understand that video games are challenging, and the challenge is also one of the drives to play. I get that. But how you play a single-player game offline is your business. How you gain that experience is your business. You will come across people in your life in your own ways, and you'll gain your own place in the gaming world. If you see people playing difficulty levels higher than you and you want to rise to meet them, because honestly, that's how gaming started for me. Excuse me. I have a clear memory of being at someone's house, a friend of my father's, and them playing Super Mario World on a Nintendo and watching them go across the level. Like, they went all the way through the first level, no problem. And then they reset the game and handed the controller to me. And I walked forward straight into a Goomba and died. And they were like, huh, so you can't do any better, can you? And 30-something years later, here I am. So, you know, the challenge is there. It's a part. But again, it's how you want to play your offline game. When you want to play online, you are directly competing with other people. This shit should get banned. And I'm glad that 770,000 plus people got banned off of this game. Don't do that shit online. That's shitty. If you cannot aim better than the other person than you, well, you're just not as good as them. Get better. It's just period. Don't use a fucking device that gives you... Don't do anything. Don't fucking cheat online. Don't ruin someone's online experience. Well, it's not ruining... Well, yeah, it is, because they're not able to do that. You are. Or they choose not to. I think the only argument for cheating I've ever heard, Chris, I know we've talked about this before, is that people say, well, what if I like to cheat? What if how I get my fun from video games is cheating? I get that. I can understand that, but I don't condone that. While they're both neither condoning nor condemning, I understand that mentality. Like, that is a way you can have fun in a game, but don't do that shit. That's still bad. That doesn't add up enough to make, yeah, cheating online is cool. It's all right. Saw an article that apparently Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 is looking likely, which is cool. This was actually something I wanted to talk about last week. We just didn't have time to. I'm amazed. I was amazed. I was doing some research on Modern Warfare 2. In my research, I was in like a thread or two, a discussion thread about Modern Warfare 2. And I was amazed, Chris, to discover that apparently a giant portion of the Modern Warfare audience as a whole does not like Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 3 is almost out of the discussion. But seemingly everyone, or a gigantic majority of the Modern Warfare audience, prefers 1 over 2. And it's almost scary how much they severely dislike Modern Warfare 2 and just really like Modern Warfare 1. And this boggles my mind. I couldn't wrap my head around this. I couldn't figure this out. How many of have you played any of the Modern Warfares, Chris?
I believe I own the first one.
And when I say this, I'm specifically talking about the single player experience, specifically talking about the campaign. And it started to come to light. I started to put some of the pieces, the puzzle together, not only from the forums, but talking with Adam as well about it. Modern Warfare 2 was my first single player. I believe the Halo guys played Modern Warfare 1, but I only played Modern Warfare 1 first, but they only play the multiplayer. I never played the single player of Modern Warfare 1. But I did start with Modern Warfare 2. That was my first single player Modern Warfare experience. And I loved it. Now, yes. Well, I mean, let's just throw this out there now. I prefer Modern Warfare 2 single player campaign over 1. Period. And Warfare 3, it just wrapped everything up, and I'm fairly indifferent to it. It didn't have the same impact on me as 2 did. But I will admit that there are a lot of obvious campy moments in Modern Warfare 2. Spoiler warning for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And yes, I will legitimately spoil that, or spoiler warning that, because it's a good campaign in my eyes, and I wouldn't want anybody to get spoiled on it. And I'll try to keep it as spoiler free as I can. But there is definitely some what I would loosely term Hollywood moments in Modern Warfare 2. Specifically, or an example is there's a part where you're running from the enemy and you're on a snowmobile and your partners are on snowmobiles and you have to shoot people behind you, and it's almost like you, or in front of you, I forget, and it's almost like you just kind of wave the reticle in their direction, and it's like 1 or 2 bullets, they're gone. They fall off. And you have to keep in mind, you're riding in the snow on a snowmobile, and so snow doesn't pile up in a straight line. So it's hilly, it's bumpy, and you see an enemy coming at you, and you fucking wave a Uzi in their direction and pop off a few rounds, and they go flying off. It's like God mode. That's one of many what I would term Hollywood moments in Modern Warfare 2. There are plenty of them, but for me, the pacing and all the shock and awe and the story moments flowed really well. Man, I thoroughly enjoyed that story all the way through. I loved all the moments, and I had a lot of those shocking moments that a lot of people remember from that game. I remember them. They impacted me. They affected me. They were great. I went back and played Modern Warfare 1 sometime later, like years later. And yeah, it as well had moments. It was good. But maybe just because of the fact that Modern Warfare 2 was my first, it has always left a lasting impression on me over 1. And from what I've gathered from talking to people is that Modern Warfare started going too far. You know, they started going way too Hollywood, way too wow, wham, bam moments. And I get that. I understand when people don't like when something changes. I totally get it. I'm looking at you, Mass Effect 2. But I unfortunately don't have that retrospective of being able to say that I played Modern Warfare 1, some time passed, I played Modern Warfare 2, and then went, wow, look at everything's ratcheted up to 11 now. I don't. So I will always hold 2 over 1, and especially over 3. And yeah, that's always where I sit, man. I do recommend for you and anybody else, the whole entire Modern Warfare campaign as a whole is good. They're all good to play through. A lot of good moments. It's just, I think Modern Warfare 1 had like 1 or 2 shock and awe moments, and Warfare 2 had like 15. They just kept going for it, kept going for it. For me, they hit. But apparently for the Modern Warfare 1 audience, it was just way too much. Way too much. And I get that. All that aside, apparently Modern Warfare 2 is on its way. I'd be interested to know where the story went. Not really concerned on the multiplayer, because I've been out of the Call of Duty multiplayer scene for quite some time. But I'd love to know if this is like it. So Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 are essentially a story trilogy. So is Modern Warfare 4 going to start a new trilogy? Is it just going to be a once-off story? Is the original trilogy now becoming a quadrilogy? I have no idea, but figured I'd get my Call of Duty talk out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I have mixed feelings about Call of Duty at this point. It's one of those things where the game has looked really good in the last couple of iterations, and I've actually wanted to try them. I just haven't gotten around to it, with certain modes at least. Like Call of Duty had the latest one. Let's see, there's Blackout mode, which I believe is their BR mode. But then they also had something else, and it's been so long I've already forgotten. But I'm thinking about maybe, trying out either the latest one or the next one that comes out. Yeah.
I think Modern Warfare 1 got a remaster as well. And yeah, I mean, I'll always prefer Battlefield multiplayer and Titanfall multiplayer over Call of Duty now. I mean, I've moved on from that. Now, that's also saying I haven't played multiplayer since I don't even think I played Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer. There's Black Ops, there's these Future Ops, there are so many Call of Duty multiplayer games I have not played. Remember the last Call of Duty that came out apparently got great reviews for its multiplayer. So I will say that as far as Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 are concerned, I of course will pick a Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 or a Titanfall 1 and 2 over those multiplayers. But as far as story, I'd say Titanfall 2 fucking rockets up there for a story. But as far as the totality of the campaign, Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 is a damn good single player experience. So Avengers Endgame directors hint that the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom could tempt them into a Marvel return. That title on Games Radar Plus is definitely that title enough is worth discussion, but I would like you and I to have a discussion period on we're in a fucking emptiness right now, Chris. Aside from what we're about to get into later.
Okay.
But as far as the MCU itself in the large scope is concerned, it's like, what the fuck are you guys going to do next? Where are you going? And I've read lots of things about what do we think the next big villain would be, and what do we want to see, you know, what Marvel properties are they planning on bringing in next, X-Men or not? And I don't know, man. It's what do you think? What will be the next big to do that you would like to see from Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, I think this kind of is all part of the conversation I wanted to say for a little later. But what I will say now is that I was watching basically some MCU stuff, and someone made a good point. This was on Imi JP's show he calls Fandom. He doesn't do it very often, but he had an episode just centered on the MCU and had, three big Marvel fans that, a couple of them had followed comics from the beginning nearly. So they had a lot of good insight. But someone on there, and I can't remember who it was, made a comment about the X-Men in particular. And they said, I don't think we'll see X-Men for at least 3 years or so, at least, because they want to separate themselves from the current X-Men.
Right, that makes sense.
They want people to have a chance to forget and kind of go, oh, X-Men, yeah, okay, and they can reboot it and do what they want to with it without having to worry about that taint, if you will.
Man, this is probably more of me wanting what I want, being a spoiled little kid, but I feel like the pulse. I feel like what everybody is saying right now is not, well, how different are they going to make it from the Fox X-Men? It's more like Marvel, Disney, you guys have the ability to do X-Men now. When? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? We need this. That's what I'm gathering. So I get it. I get making a vacuum. I get making space. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, all that good stuff. But if the MCU is going to treat the X-Men correctly, like we're hoping they're going to, they're going to make another bunch of billions, period. So you don't have to wait, Disney. Do your thing. But yeah, I agree, Chris. We'll bump this off to a little bit further. I'm just kind of talking about it as they come up. I did watch the It 2 trailer. It does look very good. I'm very happy with the actors that they have put in this movie, and I can't wait for it. I think it comes out September this year. Actually, I think at the very, very end they showed, September 6th of this year. So that's good. I love the first one, and I have been patiently waiting for the second one, and it's on the way. Just throw that out there. Nintendo Direct E3 2019 is set for June 11th at 9 o'clock in the morning. So there's one E3 thing you can look forward to.
Well, we have the whole lineup now of who's doing what for E3 press conferences.
Please, let's hear it.
So it looks like it's going to start on Sunday, June 9th for the press conferences, which I get the 11th is actually when they, I think, open up the main floor, etc. Presentations are usually kind of before that, I think. But Microsoft and Bethesda are on the 9th. And then we're going to see Ubisoft and Square Enix on the 10th. And then Nintendo on the 11th. Notably, nothing from Sony, which they said they weren't going to be there. But, big but, we do have Square Enix.
Yep. Which, again, we're going to get to them a little later.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's fine that we don't have, well, I don't want to say it's fine. We're talking a month away, so maybe it is okay. But we did just have a Sony State of Play.
Yep.
Which we'll leave a piece of that off, and we'll talk about that a little later. I'm pushing on down. Mortal Kombat 11, I just wanted to talk about this for a hot minute. I did cheat myself a little bit and watched pretty much all the fatalities, and I kind of watched basically the Mortal Kombat 11 movie. So I feel really bad and dirty about doing that, but I am very impressed by Mortal Kombat 11. I'm definitely impressed by I remember I made the statement that they're on the 11th game, which is probably I don't even know what game they're on by now, but they're still wowing me here and there with some of the fatalities that they're doing. One of note that I recalled right off the bat was one by a Scorpion where he throws his spear at you, and which is heated, and the spear sticks you on a chain, and he does a teleport through the ground and flies underneath you and teleports behind you and flies up in the air and pulls the melted chain through you, which splits you in half. And that's pretty cool, but it's a stylish design of how Scorpion's flying up in the air. He kind of looks like the Messenger a little bit, or Sekiro a little bit. It was really, really stylish. There's one where I think it's Sub-Zero, or no, it's the female version of Sub-Zero. I forget her name, Chill or something like that. But she throws an ice bomb inside you, and when it blows up, it freezes you in midair at like a second after explosion. So you're just like guts are flying everywhere, but you're frozen as well. It was pretty cool. Bunch of really cool fatalities. And the story itself of the game was pretty good. I do plan on purchasing this game sometime. It'll probably be next year because I always love supporting these games. And just a little final touch before I get off of Mortal Kombat 11. The fact that this thing is though it's a lower frame rate and probably a lesser quality, I get it. But the fact that this thing is on the Switch already, and people are wanting to play this game on the go on the Switch. I mean, you have to put it in like perspective for people that are like me and Chris that have come from an age where you would play a game on, say, you would play Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, and then somebody would hand you the Game Boy port, and it was, oh wow, this is the best you got, huh? Okay, well, if I'm gonna play Mortal Kombat in a portable way, this is what I'll deal with. We're now in an age where, oh yeah, that current generation game is coming out for the current generation of consoles and PC, and a portable system. It's a great age we live in, man. Great age.
I mean, hardware is getting so powerful now that the differences are, becoming less and less extreme in comparison to what they used to be.
Yep. A good little article here, Chris. I don't know if you knew about this. I hope you did. If not, you're going to know about it now. There is a God of War documentary dropped.
Yeah, I have not watched it yet. Oh.
Yep, dropped a day or so ago, and I have it queued up. I'm going to watch it sometime soon, maybe tomorrow. It's a 2-hour full-length documentary. You can find it on YouTube free of charge. So I can't comment on the documentary, but I am 100% ready to watch this. Anything about God of War and the making of, I'm all about. I typically don't do that, but if you check one of our previous episodes where we do an entire review of God of War, you'll understand Chris and I both absolutely love and adore this game, and the fact that they won Game of the Year, I'm all about this game. All about seeing things about it and from it. So this will slightly tide me over to the next God of War.
Yeah, I'm seeing some really, really good things in response to this documentary.
Yeah.
I haven't read the article, but like one of the headlines I just scrolled past a few minutes ago while I was doing a double check on news stuff. It was talking about how, you know, the father-son interaction, you know, after watching the documentary, you see how much this was, there was some influence from like their personal lives into this relationship. And, you know, like JP, he tweeted out that, you know, it made him tear up at a couple points. So this is, I can't wait to watch this.
I felt the passion in this game while playing it. I felt the passion anytime I saw an interview about Corey talking about this game. I saw the passion when they won the Game of the Year award. I mean, this is a great game. This is a Hallmark masterpiece game, and I'm really loving everything I can get about this thing. So, yeah, I'll be checking it out. So, talking more on the situation of this year, if I can put a perspective for people, how, you know, May just started. You know, we're a third of the way through May right now. Mm-hmm. You got June, July, August, September, October. We got 7 more months and some change left. And I imagine people are hearing me say, you know, wow, you're going into a backlog? Like, is that it for the year? Well, I've got a list that's essentially, I'm so sorry, Chris, I meant to post this your way. Okay. I've got a list from Kotaku. They basically made a rundown of the games that are coming out the rest of this year. It's sort of extensive, so I'm just going to blow through ones that I'm concerned about. And same for you, Chris, if you see it pop up. But a lot of these are just maybes, and yeah, sure, I'll pick up. Nothing that I can really see, unless something on this list, which I'm about to read with you, audience, and Chris right now, strikes me as, wait, stop the presses. I will buy this game. Right off the bat, in September, Neo's sequel's coming out for the PS4. That's cool, but I'll probably be waiting for that game to come to the PC anyway, because I have Neo on the PC.
Sure.
Danganronpa, the V3 comes out, which it's I don't know. I thought V3 was, where's my Steam at? I thought Danganronpa 3 was already out. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like some DLC for Danganronpa 3, but regardless, I'm not even through Danganronpa 1. So anything Danganronpa in the future, I'm not going to be able to play right now. I'm not going to buy it.
I'm looking at it right now on Steam.
Yeah. So that's weird. Let's see. Let's see.
Look at the year on the article.
Oh, is this an old article?
2017.
Holy crap. What? I swear to G, I picked this thing up from their current news. Well, okay. We're going to scratch that off then. That's one less thing we have to talk about. If I can find a list real quick, maybe we'll... I think we already did this already, though.
Yeah, we did it not too long ago. I can always update our tracker we have, and we can talk about it next week, maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. But in any event, like I said, the big takeaway is that there's a lot of games that are like, yeah, I should pick that up and probably will, and it's okay, but nothing on this is, you know, there's no God of War 2, no Mega Man 12 coming out in this year, so I will fill my space. I will definitely fill the space. So, I'll tell you what, Chris, we'll save, we'll save the... Oh, man, how do I want to do this? All right, let's talk about Spider-Man first. Let's do that. That way, because we can run through the Sony stuff as a whole. Okay. Oh, sorry for the bumpage there, folks. So, new Spider-Man trailer got released. And before I even saw the trailer, Chris, I saw the bigger headlines before it. This trailer has a major spoiler, has spoilers for Endgame right off the fucking bat. So please do not watch this trailer if you have not seen Endgame. I said, okay, that's good to know. Good on everybody. And I'm talking everywhere that nobody was just throwing this thing up. It wasn't just the trailers here. It was red flag, alert, warning, spoilers are coming your way. And if that wasn't justice enough, now this could be just the one that I saw. I don't know if it's just the one that I saw or if there are multiple ones or if this was the only trailer out so far. But Spider-Man's character steps up right at the beginning of the trailer and says, hey, just so you know, there are in-game spoilers right now. Yeah. I was like, thank you, Tom. Tom Holland, you're a good guy. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the trailer. And yeah, they're right. There's stuff right off the bat.
Yeah.
But so what did you think of this Spider-Man Far From Home trailer?
This has me less nervous about moving forward with the whole the MCU as a whole, I should say.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of what's next, and now we have an idea. I mean, it's it's about as broad an idea as you can have, because I mean, you throw out the multiverse, and that's everything.
Yep.
So that gives us everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives us the hook to, you know, bring in the X-Men, to bring in all these other villains or heroes, etc., that we would say, well, where were they before? Where were they, you know, the last 20 movies? Why weren't they there?
Yeah, as a whole, not just where they were last week. Where have they been this entire time? So just in case, we'll go ahead and throw out right now, as of this episode, as of this recording, if you're listening to it within this week, go check out, if you're interested and you've caught up and all that stuff, especially make sure you're caught up to Endgame. There's a Spider-Man Far From Home, which is basically the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. It's got the Tom Holland Spider-Man, yada yada yada, and it's good. Go check it out. It'll get you pumped for not only this Spider-Man movie, but where things are going to go. So spoiler warning from right now on. The reason why is because in the trailer, Mysterio, who is going to be played by Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan, always have been, so I'm happy to see him in this role. I forget if it's him. I forget who actually said it. But the trailer just comes out and says, yeah, ever since the fucking Snap shit and all these multi-universes have been showing up and popping up. So, and it right then, like you said, Chris, right then I was like, yeah, it's good. We're in good hands now. All that speculation that we had at the end of Endgame, where people were saying, well, now because Loki took the Tesseract away, or because they did this alternate universe and these timelines happen and this timeline happened, now this is the movie itself going, that's covered. Some shit went down, and who knows who is going to show up next. And that's so perfect. I would love to know. I would love to know from the honesty of these writers and directors' hearts if this was planned like this the whole time. Because they have essentially made an entire arc of stellar movies, of great movies, and that pays off. And at the end of that arc, they set up a way for future 22 episode movie arcs to happen. And this is how. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Watch Endgame. This person can show up out of the blue that was never there. You never heard anything about Immortals or X-Men or X-Force or the Brotherhood of none of this stuff. Now they can just show up, and it can't happen. It probably won't happen for obvious reasons. But when Iron Man's like, where the fuck were you when we were taking out Thanos? They can go, we didn't exist. We didn't exist until you guys brought us into existence. Our timelines or our dimensions didn't cross until they did. Now we're here. That's so nice. So nice. And I honestly was having a hard time deciding what was more cool of a thing for me during this trailer. Just the fact that Mysterio was here and we're getting a new Spider-Man Tom Holland movie, or the fact that this is now the ushering of the potential new of everything. You know, it's so great. So great.
I'm really excited for this movie, for Far From Home. Just the fact that we know for sure now that it follows Endgame. I'm just that little bit of knowledge is enough for me to go, okay, I want to see this. And then seeing the trailer and how they're treating Spider-Man in this. Oh man.
And how they're treating Mysterio. This is more and more every time a Marvel Cinematic Universe film comes out, Chris, I get more and more excited for the potential of the X-Men. I do. Because look at Mysterio in this trailer. Yes, you do see Jake Gyllenhaal without that globe on a lot. That's fine. But I saw plenty of shots with him in that globe. And it wasn't him just in a glass bubble. It was the fucking white inside, like you couldn't see his face, like Mysterio is. And look at his costume in general. It is a stylized representation of what we know Mysterio to look like. And that's all I need. So when I look at the X-Men, I guess we will talk about the Phoenix trailer in a minute, but when I look at the X-Men, and this is especially true when I watch Logan, you know, another reason why I realize this, Chris, another reason why I really loved Logan as opposed to all the other X-Men films, you didn't see Logan in a costume. Now, granted, Logan, old man Logan in the comics didn't have the costume, at least that I'm aware of. It was just him in some jeans and a wife beater. That's cool. But it showed that you can't fuck him up. It's hard to fuck up old man Logan because he didn't have a costume to represent him. He's got what you know him with, which is the kind, you know, the beard, the mutton chops, and the hair, and the claws. Good, awesome. But when I look at something like, you know, X-Men 3 or Wolverine or hell, even the newer X-Men titles, I look at that black fucking leather outfit. They even try to make a joke about it. Like, what were you expecting? Yellow spandex? Yes, motherfucker. We were expecting yellow spandex. Well, and I could just see Fox waving its finger. Well, hold on now. We're going to make this X-Men film more sophisticated than that. We don't want a bunch of children laughing at Wolverine in a leather spandex. And then somebody points over to the MCU and they go, look at Iron Man. Look at Thor. Look at Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is damn near immaculate with his costume. He looks like Doctor Strange. He has Doctor Strange's jewelry on, which if somebody actually set him down in those movies, he would probably explain where all those rings came from, where that fucking cauldron of the cosmos came from. They're like, yeah, Fox, actually people do want to see this shit because they want to feel like you're treating their properties with respect. We're not writing everything word for word as the comic is written, so that probably pisses some people off. But at least when we put our characters on a poster, they look distinct and they look tastefully respectful. They look stylized as opposed to what do your characters look like? You're a bunch of people in black leather outfits. That's bad. So when I see Mysterio in this trailer and I see his costume, I go, yes, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see how they do Wolverine and Cyclops and Beast and Nightcrawler and Rogue. I cannot wait to see how faithful they keep to that look. I really can't. And I look at something like Phoenix, and I saw that trailer. I've seen it a couple times, and I want to like it. I want to be in it because, man, James McAvoy is such a good actor. Oh shit, I totally forgot, Chris. I did watch Glass, by the way. That was a pretty good movie. It was a kind of a culmination of the Unbreakable and Glass. No, that was Unbreakable. Unbreakable and Split. Anyway, I love James McAvoy, good actor, and I think he's played a very good Professor Xavier. And a couple of the X-Men variants, they play their part okay, but nobody really stands out. On top of the fact that I really don't think the Phoenix was a saga. Audience, understand this. In the comics, Thanos, that whole thing, the whole Infinity War was a saga. In the comics, the Phoenix was not a movie. The Phoenix was not a comic. The Phoenix was a saga. Phoenix is like a universe-destroying power. So the fact that they are, again, cramming this into one movie is bad. On top of, I watched the Apocalypse movie, and it was god-awful. It made me piss vinegar so bad. Because of that, they're fucking everything up. It's not that they're fucking it up; it's that they're not getting it right. That, in my opinion, in my loose comic knowledge, and loose X-Men cartoon background, they're just not getting this shit right. Same thing for the actor that played Michael Fassbender. He's a great actor too. Like, they've got good actors in there, but that's, I mean, you telling me that Michael Fassbender is going to be in there again, that's great. And you're telling me that James McAvoy is going to be back in there again, that's great. Those are two great actors. But I'm not going there just to see those actors. I'm going to see the X-Men and how great you handle the X-Men. That's like telling me that, oh, the man and Chris, I'm loving hearing this shit. That's like telling me that, oh, well, Jim Carrey's in it, so the Sonic movie's going to be great. I'm not...
Right.
I'm not going to go see a movie to go see the actor do the actor's normal stick. Like, that's not what I go to see, why I would want to go see a movie like that. If an X-Men movie has James McAvoy and has Michael Fassbender, that's great because I know those actors should do a solid performance. And when I see it, the performance checks out, we're good. But it's the totality of it all. It's everything combined that makes me go, this is not good. I'm not going to go watch a Sonic movie just to see how funny Jim Carrey can be. That's so crazy to me, Chris. Have you noticed this? This is like, it's like all the news articles I keep seeing. And when I hear people talk about this, they'll bash the trailer for all the things that everybody's bashing it for. But then they'll nudge each other and go, hey, yeah, but Jim Carrey's going to be great, right? And I'm like, of course Jim Carrey's going to be great. You put Jim Carrey in a role and tell him to be funny, he's going to be funny. But that's not why I want to go see a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. That's not why anybody should. You want to go see a Sonic the Hedgehog movie to see Sonic do good things and you have fun with him and not this horrible abomination alien shit that they're trying. I mean, it's great if Jim Carrey has a good comedy performance in here, but does that necessarily suit the character of Robotnik? Nah, sort of, kind of. He was an aloof, diabolical guy, not a jokey, quippy, wisecracky, blunder guy. So I don't know. He did make blunders. I mean, there was some times where he tripped and fell, but whatever. In any case,
it is going to be interesting when I do watch Dark Phoenix, because the whole time I see Jean Grey, I'm going to be thinking of Sansa Stark.
Yeah, I had that.
When I watched Apocalypse, I hadn't seen Game of Thrones yet, so I didn't have that taint on her character. But after seeing the trailer and the still images from it, I'm like, yeah, that's Sansa.
Yeah, I forget who it was. It was one of the many in-game review / discussion people I was watching. And I guess that's where we can have this discussion too, talking about not only where we see the MCU going from here, but the big obvious question is just cherry picking great villains from the Marvel Universe as a whole and picking who you think would go in. And somebody made the caution. They're like, man, this is one thing that I trust Marvel not to do because they've done it good so far. But again, because we haven't really had, or at least I have not read or listened to or had any media push to me, Michael, that to hear the Russo brothers or any of the folks in the MCU say from day one, we've had all this planned out. But because I need to know that to make sure that when they were throwing in these little, you got to remember, man, they peppered Thanos in to the definition of peppering. Like it was 2 or 3 or 4 movies down the line before you ever saw Thanos, and when you did, it was him just turning his head and smiling, and then you saw him again. Go ahead.
That was the other part of that, fan conversation I was talking about earlier. The big question was, how long until we get any sort of reveal on who's going to be the next, big major villain? And it's like, well, probably 3 or 4 movies.
I hope so.
Roughly.
And I hope when they do it, this is what that guy was talking about, was that not blowing your load right off the bat. If you want to talk about blowing your fucking wad right now, look at Phoenix. Look at the Phoenix movie itself. This is one movie, and who knows, Chris, maybe I'm fucking wrong, and they're trying to extend this movie out to a trilogy. That still doesn't do it justice. Endgame and Infinity War were 2 movies that predominantly featured Thanos the most, but that wasn't enough to make the totality. I love that word. My word today is totality. The entirety of the Thanos arc of the MCU. They peppered him all over the place. Here and there. There were several movies in before you saw him, and then the next time you saw him, you only got him for like maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then a few movies later you saw him in another thing, you heard his voice or saw something. Like, this is what this next arc needs to do. We need to have 1, 2, 3, 4 movies, whatever, and then you see like the shadow of some villain in a cloud or something. You're like, oh, you see a cape or maybe a horn of Galactus's helmet or something. That, just like when you saw Thanos' face, that's going to send everybody a light. You already know who it's going to be. But just because you're 3 or 4 movies in, that doesn't mean you need to see Infinity War levels of their face from now on. That the way that they did it for Infinity War worked so well, because years went by and you were still going, oh, what's next? Like, what's going to happen? This fucker sat on a throne and wagged his finger around. Hey, go do this. Hey, go do that. Go do this. All right, you know what? Guess I'll just fucking get up now and go do shit myself. And it wasn't like you saw that immediately. It wasn't the next movie you got 40 minutes of screen time with him. You still had snippets here and there, little things, people talking about him, both outside of the movie and the real world and in the movie. So that's good. That's what I'm hoping for. They have a good track record so far, and they've got a lot of good credit for me to believe that they're going to do it that way. But now the flip side of this whole coin, Chris, is now that we know that's how they're going to do it, well, I don't think it's a bad thing, honestly. But once you see whatever it is you need to see, it's done. Again, if we see, like, what villains, Chris, would you like to see done? Like, what's the next big holy shit guy that you would like to see make the appearance? Who's going to be the next Thanos that you'd like to see?
I honestly have no idea. I don't know enough about the Marvel lore. I wasn't one of those that spent a lot of time with the comic books. I actually kind of want to go back and see if I can find like big collections digitally, to download and read through comics. Maybe watch some of those, catch up. Like you're talking about, I can't remember what you said the name of the series was or channel was, but they go through and talk about arcs.
Comic Pop, Back Issues is that series that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I might watch something like that or look for the original source material, etc. But I have no idea. It's, for me, it's more interesting to figure out if they're going to continue, which they kind of have to at this point with the galactic scale, or at what parts of this new, whatever we're going to call this, whether it's another long 20 movie series, or if they're going to break it down smaller now. I don't know. They could do either way, really. I mean, they've already set the foundation. They could go, well, technically, all the other movies still are part of this, or we're just kind of expanding it. you know, so, but are they going to do more Earth-centric stuff for now and then later on build up to another galactic thing? Or are we, because it's kind of awkward to go, okay, well, this is a galactic scale issue to, all right, well, now let's focus on, you know, Earth. And it's kind of hard to go backwards at that point.
I would make the guess that they would keep it a galactic scale, but again, they will do it the way that this has been done. You know, you will have different people or different groups that will come in and add parts to this thing. If they don't, I would argue that there are plenty of movies that take the scale and tone it down. Like The Raid is a good example. The Raid takes place basically in one apartment complex, and there's a lot of, it's mainly action, but there's a lot of like suspense and development throughout that movie. Dredd is another perfect example. Judge Dredd had, I don't know because I never watched the old Judge Dredd, but I felt like there was a citywide scale issue going on there. And Dredd took place in a quote unquote city, but it took place in one building. And it had him and another character with him and some side characters and a villain with some side characters. I feel like it can be done. I feel like the X-Men is a perfect example to do this stuff. Imagine a collection of the X-Men over time. You know, we're saying X-Men as if, you know, there's going to be 22 X-Men movies. Maybe it's not. Right. Maybe Wolverine gets a trilogy. Gambit gets a trilogy. Now, can it be done? You know, people probably said that Iron Man couldn't be done. And he is, as of this date, the fulcrum of the entire Thanos arc. So, yeah, people didn't care about Thanos back in the day. You may not care about Storm right now. You may have thought that Nightcrawler was the worst Marvel character. You'd be wrong, but you might think little of these characters. But the MCU so far, if you look at the entirety of the Thanos arc, has come to you and said, we're going to make them all good. At a minimum, they're all going to be good. So, let's say they don't do that, though. Let's say they don't just stick to the X-Men. There are other Marvel factions out there. I'm not familiar with all of them to a religious degree, but there's the X-Force. That's a whole nother subset of them. You have they could go villains. They could do a trilogy of the villains. The Brotherhood of the Evil Mutants is an example. I mean, there's all sorts of things they could do with just the X-Men universe, and they could pepper it in at the beginning and then scale it up. And when you look at villains that it could be Galactus. That's one example. He's a planet eater. So the first time you see the hint of Silver Surfer, you already know what you're in for. Doctor Doom, while he has a humanoid look to him, I say that as in he's like a man, and he looks like a man in a tin outfit. He is arguably one of the most powerful people in the entire MCU. He has done shit up to a Thanos level. So it's less and less about how powerful I think that was one of the fears of some people, is that wait a minute. You had Thanos. Thanos by himself was a Titan. Thanos himself could go toe to toe with the Hulk. See Infinity War, where he did just that. He didn't use his power. He just tactfully beat the shit out of the Hulk. He could stand toe to toe with the Hulk. Oh, but then he had a gem for every single aspect of something that controls the universe. How do you top that power level? I say you don't have to top it. You just have to make somebody as well written as Thanos was. That's going to be the challenge. It's going to be how you bring them in, how you pepper them throughout the movies that precede it, and then how you pay it off. Doom, easy to write as a character. He is a human character that you can have a sympathetic reason for buying into him. They just happen to write Thanos sympathetic because they wrote him that way. But Thanos is a fucking Titan from another planet, from another galaxy. Yeah, you could go, yeah, man, I feel what you're going for, but that's kind of stupid. It's easy to say that. It's harder to say that when I am a human. Here is my reason, and you go, oh, wow, okay, well, I kind of feel I understand how you got to where you are today, Dr. Doom. And it's like Mr. Freeze. You know, when you look at the Batman universe, Mr. Freeze, there's just, you don't like it, what he does, but he has an end reason why he's doing what he's doing. It's for the love of his dead wife. So, yeah, it could be done. I would say it'd be a little bit more difficult to write for somebody like Galactus. The Galactus is basically a Godzilla. I mean, he's basically a force of nature. He's just going around the universe and eating planets to survive. So, it'd be kind of tough. You'd have to write him as a being, but that would really go against what he is. So I don't know. It'd be kind of tough. It's interesting. I think the big question for people like you and me, Chris, is do we have faith they can do it? I say yeah.
Yeah.
Giving the 22 movies that we just got, yeah. I don't know how they could fuck up aside from look at Fox. Just don't do that.
So the interesting thing is how will they approach character movies going forward? Because we kind of have, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America. Those are our 4 main character movies. There's Hulk in there, but that's debatable to some people.
Yeah.
Will we see more individual character movies like that, or are we going to start seeing more group-based movies? Like, we have Spider-Man doing his thing, of course, and I think that will continue. I think we're quickly seeing that Spider-Man might be the Iron Man of this part of the franchise.
Yeah.
We've seen the Iron Man movies, and we've had Spider-Man too, but not this Spider-Man as much. So this is the start of, the Spider-Man arc, etc. But we also have, there's something, and I'm trying to look it up now, but there are some TV series being produced based on a couple of characters. Now, whether or not they're related, that's, a thing, because it's like...
was that Disney Plus stuff I kept hearing about? I didn't look into it, though.
But there's also a Black Widow movie.
Oh.
So, what is this going to be?
Yeah.
And we won't see that till 2020.
Yeah.
We won't see it till next year, probably late next year at this point, I'm guessing, depending on, how that's going.
I think there's something else to consider that I actually haven't really thought about too much until right now, and I imagine there are multiple YouTube channels that have been all over this, but let's talk for just a minute about the MCU, because we keep saying MCU as if it's like a person. It's not. The MCU is a collective of directors and writers and producers. So here's a bigger question. Let's say that the new arc of the MCU starts, and you get hints of where it's going. But let's say it's not these writers, not these directors, not these producers. How do you feel? Because we're saying that Marvel itself has their hand in this, and Disney itself has its hand and its funding in this, but the Marvel company itself is not a person. Disney itself is not a person. These two are not people that are not sitting down and making this movie. It's these specific people. So while throughout these movies we've had different writers and different directors, and they've all ranged anywhere from good to 5 out of 5. I mean, how would we feel if they start sliding across all these new directors and all new writers and all this? Like, I don't know. How would that make you feel?
Well, I think that really the, standard has been set. So I'm actually there's a chart with all the directors and screenwriters, etc. And there's already a lot of differences. Phase 3 kind of centralized that a bit more, but that makes sense with all the, tie-ins that were between them.
Right.
but it's one of those things where I think if they keep to the trend of the individual character movies are X and then the group movies are Y, I can see that working out. As long as there's that consistency and they don't go, okay, well, this person's going to do this group movie and this person's going to do the next group movie. Having that stability throughout the series, however, whatever, and we're speaking very loosely about what even the series is, assuming there's a long series like there was here. Like I said earlier, we may go to, okay, instead of 22 movies, we're down to 5 movie arcs, something like that. And we're going to see, instead of like, say, Galactus, maybe we won't see him for 20 movies or even hear about him for 15 or 10. Maybe we're going to see like a 5 movie arc that focuses on X villain, and then the next 5 movies are X villain, and these are, at varying scales. Say the first one is a Earth-based, Spider-Man is the central, core of this part, so it's kind of more home-based because he's, Earth-based. He's really New York-based, but even expanding out like Far From Home does to another area, it makes sense, but it's still on Earth. It takes something like Avengers to get him off planet.
Right.
But then the next 5 movies, kind of on a galaxy scale, if you will, other planets, et cetera, in our galaxy. And then the next 5, we kind of go beyond. And of course, this is completely ignoring the whole Guardians of the Galaxy part of it.
Right. They're going to be out there.
Like, say this, 10 to 15 movie arc, they expand beyond, and that's where we see that's where we start seeing, maybe in the last movie of that arc, we see Silver Surfer. And then the next 5 movies are the Galactus arc, something like that.
Yeah.
And all this kind of determines what we need writing-wise and who we need where.
Who's to say how long the End of Time cast itself is going to last? I mean, we could go 100 episodes and quit. We can go 500 episodes and quit. Who knows? But I'll tell you this, man. If we're still around, it's going to be so interesting to have an episode where we come back to this one. When we're on movie 22 of the next arc, but 44 of the entire MCU arc, and we come back to here and go, man, we were curious. We were because right now I'm just flat out in a state of slightly anxious, but just flat out curiosity and wonderment. Like that's what the MCU has done now. I'm not like, that was cool. And then years later, another X-Men movie gets announced, and I'm like, whatever. Right now, I'm in that, man, what could it be? What they could do anything. Like, who could they bring in? How will they do it? All this. It's going to be so interesting down the road to see what this is like. And,
absolutely.
We're saying 22 and arc as if that's their statement. We'll add another what-if scenario. Hello, folks, and welcome to the MCU cast again. You thought you came here for video games, didn't you? You thought me and Chris played video games, huh? Did you? This is something else to consider. They are not exactly beholden to this formula. Chris, for all we know, this isn't a formula. This is just how shit panned out. You know?
Exactly.
So they could have like 4 or 5 movies and another 4 or 5 movies and another 4 or 5 movies, and all those have little peppers, and they all tie together for a 10 movie arc or a 3 movie arc or something. They're not beholden to anything. They could go outside of it. Like, let's say I've heard someone make, and I don't know the canon reason, so forgive me, comic book aficionados, but somebody told me that if you wanted to do a Doctor Doom as the main bad guy, you don't have to wait 6 movies to start seeing him. You could pepper him in through every single movie in some degree. And I was like, wow, that'd be interesting. And then I had to think, okay, well, hold on now, because that's not exactly going by the formula that they did. Would you be okay with that? And I just had to remind myself that we're saying formula. That this might have just happened the way it happened. So this is just another thing for them to do, thing for them to try. I'll leave that with this. The fucking people at MCU made Guardians of the Galaxy. That, if you think Iron Man was unknown to me, I had no idea who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. I knew who Rocket Raccoon was because of fucking MCU. So, because of Marvel vs. Capcom. So, that was completely out of the blue for me. They looked out there and said, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, we'll do that. And they did it. And it was fucking phenomenal. It took the world by storm. That is one of many examples of the MCU going, trust us. We may pull some out of left field shit. We may do something that's a bit out of your major knowledge or even your comfort zone, but you're going to like it. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a good time. So if they come out with some new chart, next year, Chris, and it's like a flow chart it's like nebulous. It's got some movies here and some movies here and some movies here with arrows pointing everywhere. I'm just going to go, all right, yeah, sure. Go ahead. All right, let's go. Now let me stop and try to figure out what those logos mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got my faith. Again, it's hard to look at all 22 movies. It's hard to look at this Thanos arc as a whole and be disappointed. It's hard to look at this Thanos arc as a whole and go, all right, I don't really have faith in what's coming next. No, that's not going to happen. We would have to be 3 or 4 movies in and me and Chris going, no, for me to start having that fall off. Right now, it's on a fucking high. It's on a high.
Yeah, it goes back to our conversation about developers and faith in game developers, Okay, you do well for a while, you get a couple passes. And that's, I think, to an extreme here. They get a lot of passes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, look at it. Here's an example. When I played Mass Effect 1, I loved Mass Effect 1, had a damn good time with it. Jank aside, I had a great time with it. Loved the story. I was hooked. The immediate hook point for me in that game was when Rex was talking to that guy at the very beginning of the movie. You want me to take you to jail? I want you to try. I was hooked, and I've been hooked all the way through. Mass Effect 2 came along, way too many changes for me. I became the Modern Warfare 2 guy when it came to Mass Effect 2. I was like, wait, I don't like where this shit's going. I don't like it at all. Mm-hmm. But I stuck with it. And that has happened for other video game series as well. Well, if we're talking about the MCU, yeah, I had, my opinion, to me, I had legitimate complaints about the way Endgame wrapped up. Or not wrapped up, but the way that Endgame played out. But it was still a fucking great movie. It still had a point that made me go, yeah, in the theater like I'm some fucking cool kid, It still had moments that made me just, yes, this is great. I love how this is playing out. I can still have complaints. I still loved it. So there's no downhill slope for the MCU right now. It's nothing but uphill. I can't wait to see Spider-Man this year. This trailer got me definitely excited. Now, I will say, Chris, I may watch this trailer a couple more times just to get some more details down, but this will be the only trailer I watch. This is it. So when the 4th trailer gets released in July, I will not be watching it. Well, actually, when does this movie come out, Chris? Did you see the date?
I'll look that up. But
yeah.
I only watch this trailer. I was not going to watch it because of, I'm doing basically the same thing you do. I'll watch maybe one. But I wasn't even doing that for this. I hadn't seen any trailer. I hadn't seen the original. Yeah. And I accidentally watched it trying to watch the new one. So I only watched it because of the whole, I want to see the connection Endgame. That's the only reason I watched this. Yeah.
And I watched it because I wanted to see Mysterio. That was going to be a line for me. I already knew it was one of those, I've got my hands in the air and I'm smiling and shaking my head. Come on, bruh. You're not going to do me wrong, are you? But it's Mysterio. He's not really obscure. I think he may be one of the Sinister Six or whatever they called him. But he's a guy. Chris, he's a guy in green tights and like a purple or red cape and a fucking fish globe on his head. Come on. You could fuck that up, Fox. But I saw this one and saw the way he was portrayed and said, nope, they fucking did it again. Bravo. And then, right. Seeing the connection definitely got me going, oh, no, oh, so good.
So let me lay this on you. The release date, July 2nd.
Oh, boy. That's right around the corner, man.
That is coming up quick.
Yep. And if I'm not, is there another MCU movie coming out this year?
I don't know.
I thought there may have been another one. I don't know what I don't know what I'm thinking of, but I thought there was.
I'm all over the wiki right now, so let me see if I can pull it up.
I've been staring at the picture of fucking Spider-Man and Mysterio shaking hands since we've been talking about it. Mm-hmm. That's about all I've seen. But yes, definitely looking forward to it. We got Endgame. Captain Marvel came out this year. No, Google, I'm not counting Dark Phoenix as an MCU movie. Neither am I counting Gambit, which there's a Gambit movie. Okay.
So, Black Widow, I think, they're not even starting to film until June. The Eternals, which is something we didn't even talk about, and
nope.
That's a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not starting until September. Shang-Chi, which I don't know anything about that. Let's see. There's not even word on when that one's going to start. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which started filming already. Or never mind. That one's not even going to begin until next year.
Yeah.
There's a Doctor Strange sequel, which is going to begin filming next year. And then there's a Black Panther sequel, which we know nothing about yet.
Yeah. If Maxim is to be believed, I've got a list of movie release dates that are coming out, but no titles are connected to them. There's 2 movies coming out in 2020, 3 coming out in 2021, and 3 in 2022, which if you look at that fits the general formula that we're used to seeing now.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's in any event, we get Spider-Man this year, and that's going to be kind of quiet for a while. I'm okay with that. Endgame has already came and went. I know. I mean, I am not expecting, nor what I want Far From Home to try to either meet or surpass either Endgame or Infinity War. To further that point, I don't feel like they should even be trying to. I mean, Iron Man 2 was not trying to surpass Endgame because they weren't in the same league with each other ever. But I have faith in Tom Holland. I have faith in the MCU. I have more faith seeing the trailer and seeing Jake Gyllenhaal as doing this Mysterio role. So, yeah, looking forward to it. And I don't know how many more episodes we're going to keep talking about the MCU, but
as long as there's news, probably.
As long as there's news and as long as we have more shit to discuss, because it's that good, man. This is great. This is good that it's done this, you know. It generates intrigue and excitement in us as opposed to, hey, we watched those movies. Like, if you ask me about the original X-Men movies from 2000 whatever, I mean, I watched them. I'm sure we could talk about them a little bit, but they were hot garbage and I don't care where that universe went. I've watched all these movies, and I'm excited to see where the companies and directors and writers and producers are taking the next step. Can't wait. All right, let's cap off tonight with the last big piece of news. This thing hit me. I had just got off a plane and was sitting outside waiting on some people to show up and was randomly popping through my subscriptions. Said, hey, Sony's got a fucking another State of Play happening in like 4 minutes. I was like, oh shit. So this came out of nowhere, and I actually didn't have time to watch it that night, and business got tracked, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really get to watch it till today. But I did see the final thing for it. I made sure to watch that while I was at dinner, I kind of caught it in passing, so I didn't have a lot of direct ooh and ah with it, but we'll get to that. So yeah, the next state of play for this year, Sony, has some pretty cool stuff in it. One thing right off the bat, Chris, did you pick up the sound effect at the very beginning of this thing?
Nope.
Or better yet, how did you watch this? Did you watch it live when it was dropped, or did you watch it after the fact?
So I had planned to watch it live, and I tuned in, and it was basically fading to black. So I was like, okay, great.
Great.
So I had to go back to YouTube, and they posted it immediately.
Yeah, of course.
So I went back to YouTube and watched it there.
So like I said, I didn't get to watch it live. I watched it today, a couple days after the fact, or a day after the fact, whatever. And immediately right off the bat, when there was like a bar on the screen, and when the bar changed color like a PlayStation 4 will do, there was a sound effect. I recognized the sound effect immediately because I played that game too many times, and I'm one of those near nerdy guys that has video game sound effects on his phones for ringtones. Yeah, that was the Final Fantasy VII menu select at the title screen menu select.
I totally missed that.
Yep. So if I had seen this live, I already knew what was coming, but we'll get to it. So I love Monster Hunter, man. I really feel I should get back into this game. I really do, because they're just continuing, like they're releasing content like an MMO releases content, and I love it. Point of fact, Chris, did you know that Diablo 3 is on its 17th season? That is crazy. That is an outside of this event news. I saw an article on it that said, yeah, they're having their it was either 13th or 17th. Either way, they're having a season. And that's how games like this are working now. You know, these games just keep continuing onward, and it's so fascinating to me getting myself out of like this is only for MMORPGs. No, Monster Hunter World is not an MMORPG. It's a massive multiplayer hunting action game, and they're having continuous seasons, and you can chat with people online and form groups and all this stuff like an MMO. But so yeah, Monster Hunter World's getting an update. There's going to be some new areas and new monsters. If you're listening to this episode right now, as of this recording, you'll probably be hearing this on either Saturday or Sunday, the 11th or 12th of May. Monster Hunter World is actually free to try until May the 20th. So if you want to see what all the buzz is about, take it from me, man. It's a good game to try. You'll be hooked, and you'll have a lot more content than I had when I first played it, so get on that shit. I mean, aside from people that know Monster Hunter World, there wasn't a lot to just completely gawk over. If you kind of understand that if they're going to make extra content to this game, it's going to be predominantly more monsters, but more areas is also going to be great to know. The notable addition of this is that it's a snowy area that you're going to play in, and to my recollection, there weren't snowy areas in the original content that I played. Definitely some cool places to check out. Definitely, there's forest areas and like mud/swamp type areas, and like hilly mountainous areas and a volcano-like area. So having a snow-themed area is very cool. All the other extra new monsters aside, it definitely seemed pretty cool. Next was Riverbond. It was a 3D pixel dungeon crawler that featured a whole bunch of indie characters. Okay, sure. It's out there for somebody. And this is the next one. And stop me, Chris, if any of this is interesting that you want to talk about. I don't know if Riverbond really was up your alley or not.
No, I kind of... I actually skipped over that one just to catch the name and release date, because I put in our Discord a list of all the game names and their release dates that had them. So I just kind of skipped over that one because doesn't really particularly interest me.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it looks, if it's free, sure. But yeah, I didn't see anything that just blew my mind. The next sound effect that I picked up right off the bat was this new Predator game. So they had some music playing, and the way that the music started to play, actually, I need to go back and figure out what it was. There was a sound effect. It was either a sound effect or it was the way that the music itself was playing. But I recognized the Predator reference right off the bat. And yeah, there's a new Predator game coming. They made sure to let you know that the footage that you saw was not actual game footage or something like that. But the trailer didn't really show much of anything. You saw like the half silhouette of a Predator that was camouflaged, and you heard the sound effect. And then the trailer just went off. So I gotta say, man, I haven't had too many Predator games in my life that have done it justice. I've watched Wooly play Concrete Jungle, and that's it's okay. I've played a couple of the Alien-ish games. I actually own the Alien vs. Predator game from back in 2009 or 10. I forget, whenever I was in tech school. And it was not good at all. And go ahead.
No, finish. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I was just saying, of all the Alien pop culture villains that people love, I prefer Predator far more than Aliens. So I'm always interested to see anything with the Predator. I did not like the last Predator movie. I thought Predators was okay. I just haven't had the same fuck yeah attitude that I've had since Predator 1, maybe even Predator 2. And it's for some reason they just can't seem to get that right. Like this last Predator movie, dude, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. I don't know what they're going for, but they're making a Predator not what I'm looking for. And when I think of the Predator, dude, I damn near think of Batman. You know, I think of dark settings. I think of shadow tactics, and then he just kills. I don't need this. I don't need bright lit rooms with these spaceships with all these giant buttons and all this shit going on. Like, there's too much shit going on in Predator movies. If you want to have him fighting having humans, go watch Predator 1. That's how you do it. I don't need a 2-hour movie with an hour and 42 minutes of the time showing the Predator. He's a stalker. He's a hunter. And I need to see that. I'm not getting that. All that aside, I don't know anything about this game. I'm hoping good things. It would be nice to finally have a game do the Predator justice. And if it is, I'll check it out. But right now, as of this little trailer, don't know jack.
Here's why I would advise not getting excited about this game. Because the very first thing that was mentioned about it is multiple against one.
Yep.
Guess what? Evolve just did that, and it flopped. It had a decent concept, but then the game bombed. It got a spike in popularity when they went free to play, and then it died out again. So they have to do this very carefully, and for people to play it.
I don't know what company's doing it, but I would counter that the Friday the 13th movie game had this same formula, and they worked very well. That game has a lot of good content in it. A lot of good
that is a good point.
Yeah. I feel like I know what you're saying. It can be done. It's just be careful.
Yeah, and I'd completely forgotten about the Friday the 13th and the other game. The Friday the 13th and then the other one were the two big ones that have recently done that. And I guess
the Dead by Daylight?
Yes, Dead by Daylight.
Yes,
you got
yeah.
It. I guess it depends on the scale of it, because I think those two games did okay because they were basically people versus people. Considering, Dead by Daylight, those are technically maybe not always people, but they're, small humanoids. I'll put it that way. Evolve was more big monster, more fantasy type approach. With Predator being what it is, if they go more the Evolve route, I think that'll be where it gets rough. But perhaps if they follow the Dead by Daylight, well, See, it depends what kind of game is this? You know, aside from the multiple versus one, what kind of game is this? Is this a track down and kill people like Dead by Daylight? Okay, you're just rescanning it. Okay, I suppose that's not too hard to do.
Yeah, could be done. It's the thing that I noted down here was online shooter. So yeah, you've got more into it than I did from the, you know, it being a multiple versus one. I'm saying it could be done. It's just be very careful, and we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah. I remember hearing about Dead by Daylight, and audience, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm getting this confused with another game, or if I'm getting the details incorrect, because I have not played Dead by Daylight at all. But I heard something about there's a cool idea. I want to say it's Michael Myers. They try to use, this is why a game like Dead by Daylight, I would use it as a reference for it could be done well. They use the characters' movie personas in the game correctly. Like they use Michael Myers, for example. You remember it? Well, if you know the movies that Michael Myers was in, there were many scenes where he was shown just standing a distance from you, just staring at you. They use that, and then like, you know, the person will run and run to another room, and then they turn around and Michael is now still behind them, and they'll run out the house and run into the woods, and they'll be huffing and puffing against a tree and turn around and Michael's still behind them. So apparently they use this in that game if you're playing as Michael Myers, that if he will run after you, but if you turn around and look at him, he stands still. But you can't just stand there and look at him all day. I think it's like if Michael Myers is standing, if he's not chasing you, he's not advancing. He can't advance, or he gets a penalty for advancing or something because you're looking at him. But while you are looking at him and he is standing still, he is gaining buffs the entire time. His attack's going up, his speed's going up or something. And the minute you book away, he can chase after you again. But when you turn around and look at him again, he's standing still and he's just gaining more buffs and that fits into the movie Michael Myers while giving him a gameplay mechanic wrapped around it. I think that's really cool. Stuff like that should be highly thought about and considered if you're doing the Predator as this setup, you know. Right. How they'll do it, don't know. We'll find out when the game comes out, or details for the game comes out. But that's stuff that's awesome. You know, it's cheat mode if the Predator is always invisible. You know, I get that. But him having that sheen, that reflective look to him kind of can give it away. So, you know, maybe if he's invisible, maybe have the invisibility on a timer somehow. But he can, it's like a choice, either use invisibility or turn the visibility off and have greater speed, you know, stuff like that. There's ways to do it. But as of this moment, hearing a Predator game getting announced to me, even though the Predator is my favorite, is not like having, you know, Persona 6 announced. I'm not like, oh, fuck yes. It's like, well, we'll see how they do it, because I've been rather let down throughout the years. Point of fact, the best Predator game, Chris, I've ever played was Alien vs. Predator for the Super Nintendo, which was a port of an arcade game. So an arcade beat 'em up at that. So that shows you the amount of faith I have in a Predator game. But when I heard the sound effect or whatever the music cue thing was, I was like, okay, cool. Medieval is getting a remaster-ish, a remaster. I've played Medieval 1. I think I didn't even get past the first level, not out of challenge, just out of boredom, maybe. Or I think I only ever had that demo. I think there was a demo of that game.
I've never played it.
Yeah. Fortescue is we'll say Fortescue is a known, maybe not a well-known, but a known PlayStation quote-unquote mascot. He's not world famous known. He's not Mario. He's not Master Chief, but he's there. This game is going to be for somebody. I hope it does. I hope it's done well, and it's done good for the people who like this game. I believe Medieval had 2 games on the PlayStation 1. That's all I've ever known of. So, yeah, I hope it's good for those people. Some game where you play as a flying squirrel. Away.
It's called Away. Yeah.
Yeah.
You play as a sugar glider.
Sugar glider. Sorry. Somebody called it a possum. I saw an article where they were like, play as a possum. And it had me thinking, wait a minute, do you only play as a sugar glider? And then maybe you could play as a possum? I don't know. But
yeah, when they first showed, I was like, is that a possum? And by the end of it, I was like, well, it's gliding, so I don't know what this is. My source for sugar glider is the PlayStation Twitter.
Okay.
Where they posted about the game. I was like, you play Away as a sugar glider or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, nailed it.
Yeah.
Put in my notes.
I played. I thought maybe it was a oddly colored flying squirrel, but I didn't know. I should have thought. I should have seen Sugar Glider. Yeah, it's some game about being an animal and surviving the harshness of the wild and all that. I mean, graphically it looks cool, but this is another game that I just went okay.
But here's your non-human game.
Yeah, that is true. This
I immediately thought of you when I saw that. I was like, here you go.
This is me shutting my mouth, but now, damn it, Chris, you ain't gonna back me in a corner. I'm gonna fucking swing my dagger and get out of this. I also don't want to play as something that's a strictly real world thing. Like, you're telling me that I get to play as a sugar glider, and I have to go out and fend off, wolves and tigers and get out of the rain and eat for survival. Nah. I want more games like the original Ratchet and Clank. I want games like that. I want characterized characters. And not the 2016 Ratchet and Clank, by the way. I have many complaints on that. But I'm just an old fuddy-duddy that doesn't know what he wants. I have to be honest with you and the audience. I saw Away and went, okay, meh. Nothing about it made me go, okay. But hey, Chris could put it in front of me and I'll play it, and who knows, maybe it'll turn me around. But yeah, immediately not interested.
I see Away as being another one of those experience games, kind of like Journey was, and then there was, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but there have been other similar games where they have a particular style to them artistically, but they're not your traditional game. It's more of exploring this world and having some sort of experience. That's the vibes I got from this. So
yeah. There are survival aspects to it that may appeal, may be interesting, but I feel like I've already talked more about this game than I care to. So whatever. Let all the people that I subscribe to force this down my throat, and then I'll play it. But for right now, just a solid view. I said, okay, it's for somebody, but I don't feel it's for me. Then we got into what Chris has been dying to get to this episode.
Oh yeah,
we got to the final little reveal trailer. Now again, since I had seen this already, I still feel that if you had watched this trailer from the beginning, if you were there waiting and watching this countdown, you would have got it. But if not, regardless, it was a Final Fantasy VII remake trailer. Right off the bat, voice acting. Let's go ahead and hash this discussion right now, because that was one of the first things I noticed. As I was watching it and hearing the music, the titular piano playing the theme, and seeing the faces and all that, I heard the voice acting, and immediately started to hold up a fist and go, I want to discuss this with Chris.
Okay.
So voice acting, what do you think?
Oh, just that there is voice acting?
Yeah.
Or, as long as it is done well, I'm okay with it. Based on what we heard so far, nothing's jumped out at me as they're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett, he has his line in there, and he sounds like a badass.
Uh-huh.
So if they make Barrett the badass that he is, go ahead.
Yeah.
This is it's kind of, it's not like they're transitioning from silent characters to voice actors. They had lines, they spoke, we just didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is the first time they've had voices either. You know, we have the movies, we have I'm trying to think if there are any games that have voice acting in them. Any of the prequels, sequels, or, you know, offshoots, whatever you want to call them.
I want to say the PSP Final Fantasy VII, the one that had the angels in it. I want to say
Crisis
that,
Core.
Yeah, Crisis Core. I believe it. I know Zack had a voice in it. I don't know. I think Cloud may have. Sephiroth had a voice. I think Cloud had a voice too, but yeah, it's not a mainstay for sure.
Yeah. But I overall I don't mind it.
Yeah, this might be another just more evidence of me being an old fuddy-duddy crossing his arms and going, you know, not in my video games, but I'm always leery of voice acting. I always am, whether it's a brand new IP or not. I'm always, I don't know. And I feel that's definitely prominent here because, folks, this is Final Fantasy VII. This is a Final Fantasy VII remake. This is a treasure among the video game community as a whole, not just Final Fantasy fans. This is a tower of a video game that they're coming in and giving a new coat of paint, and I'm fine with that. But they didn't have voices to me. And yes, I agree, voice acting can be done. It can be done well with the proper voice. I mean, we watch Critical Role, folks. We know a lot of good voice actors that can do a damn good job. But it's something about having not only not having voice acting, period. And again, I'm sorry if this really just sounds like an old fuddy-duddy. I'm thinking back to games like Final Fantasy VI, like Final Fantasy VII, like Chrono Trigger, where, yes, they had dialogue. They didn't have a voice. So I didn't ascribe a voice to a character. I ascribed a personality and gave it my own voice. And now a bit of that is taken away because now this is forever going to be the assigned voice of these players, of these people. It's less to do with their voice acting alone. That is going to be a big part of it. I really hope that these characters, like you said with Barrett, capture those characters. You know, for example. And I guess we'll go ahead and say Final Fantasy VII spoilers just in case. I realize that game is fucking old, but you never know. Here's a good example. Chris, do you remember Red 13's real name?
Nanaki.
Good job. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, for those that have played this game, you come to find out that Nanaki is, in terms of his race, he's like a teenager. You know, he talks very well. He talks like an older gentleman, but then when you get him home, they're like, what are you talking about? He's like fucking 12. And he's like, It's gonna be interesting to see how a voice actor plays that through. You know, I read that from the dialogue and I understood it, but there was no voice behind him. So I'm just using a wild example, just using the Nanaki as an example. If the first time you talked, like, how did that voice come across in the game that we did not hear? You know, when they first met him in Shinra Tower, when they pulled him out of the tube, and when he was talking to Cloud and everybody else, was he like, hey guys, we need to get out of here? Or was he like, we should evacuate the area immediately? And then they got to the town, it's like, oh man, you guys found me out. Like, you don't know. Did his voice change when they found out what his age really was? Did his demeanor change? Like, you can infer some of that from the way the dialogue was written, but having a person assign a voice and a verbal personality, two totally different things. Just saying, I hope they do it all justice.
My guess there is that it will be essentially a adult voice the entire time. I don't think his tone will change even through the reveal. Stuff like that. If that's even a thing.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to hear a lot of voices in this trailer. You know, you got to hear Cloud talk, Aerith talked, Sephiroth talked, Barrett talked. So it'd be really unfair to see this, I think it was like a 3-minute trailer, and make harsh judgments on the entirety of argument or the entirety of the game.
Right.
But yeah, it's just something that immediately I was, if I'm being that guy that's hey, treat this with care, you know, put some kid gloves on, I was kind of like, ugh. So what are some other moments of this trailer, Chris, that stuck out to you?
So a funny thing, you just were going through their names. Did you notice that the text had Aerith? There's no Ares in this. It's all Aerith.
Wow,
so
I did not.
Is the whole thing finally confirmed? It's supposed to be Aerith 100%?
Yeah, good point.
So,
and you got to assume that even though you can name characters in the game, they give you the prompt to change them. They kept the canon the way they wanted it to. So,
right. For me, and this is the big discussion point when looking at this is, all right, what are we looking at gameplay wise?
Right.
Because we have a lot of mechanics, a lot of beloved mechanics that are a concern here.
Mm-hmm.
When going from the normal, or I say normal, let's start with the old school Final Fantasy VII look. This isn't just upraising it. This is a completely different style. Well, now looking at the Final Fantasy 13, 15 type of look to it, as far as 3D, 3D, or what's the word to use? A actual battle environment being, whatever's around you type thing. So with that, we knew we were going to see changes to the battle system. We kind of saw some of that already from previous stuff, hints of it.
Uh-huh.
But in this, we really saw a menu, and we saw buttons being pressed and things happening. We didn't get a really, really good look at it, but there are a couple things that, and these are guesses, so if any of this is wrong when we actually see more gameplay, hold on, let's back up a minute. And this is kind of skipping ahead in the trailer, but they say more coming in June.
Yep.
So around E3, I suspect they're going to do something else and release more. So that may be when all of this is moot and we have answers. But for now, these are all theories.
I got to tell you, Chris, this is something that I missed. I'm playing this trailer, full disclosure, right now at my house on my other TV in like a quarter of the speed. And you are not lying, Chris. I actually see Cloud on the field in the battle, and as the triangle button prompt gets flashed, meaning that the button got pressed, he does the action, and then the button gets pressed again and he does the action. So yeah, we now have this is how you are going to play the battles in this game. That's cool. I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, so there's the question of, what do all the things on the screen mean? We kind of assume that the main number is health, of course. That's not, I don't even say that's an assumption at this point. That's a fact. The assumption is that the number to the right of that is MP. I don't believe we see a single spell cast by the character in focus, so we can't confirm that. One shot does look like Aerith is casting ice magic from the side. So, and I don't know if I didn't pay attention to the text, the UI, that's the word I was looking for, to see if anything changed right there. But I think it cuts in after basically the prompt would be pressed, the button would be pressed, so we don't see the actual change of MP. But the thought is that's the MP. And then we have underneath the MP is a bar that looks like an ATB bar. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. But it's also not going down when things are happening. So, I think that's the limit bar is what we're looking at there.
Yeah.
We don't actually see an ATB bar unless that is the blue section bar underneath the health. Thought is that the blue section bar is kind of like a 13-ish combat style where actions cost a certain amount of ATB. You know, you attack and you can get an X number of attacks before you have to give up an entire section of ATB. We only see 2 sections on here. We don't know if that's going to change throughout the game either. Real quick to kind of put this in perspective as well. All of this trailer takes place in Midgar. We see nothing after that.
Right.
Which we can talk about the ramifications of that in a minute.
Yeah.
But we only see 2 bars for this blue bar. But it does seem like a bar is lost when Braver or Barrett's, I don't remember the new name, but basically his big shot attack is used. So it looks like they might be splitting out limit breaks from, splitting limit breaks into 2 things. Limit breaks and then whatever these square attacks are or triangle attacks. They're kind of have a shortcut menu. But Braver and the big shot equivalent seem to be things that you can use as long as you have ATB for it. So maybe it's one of those things. Well, then how do limits work, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I want you to find the scene in here as you're watching through at these various paces. Look at Cloud's Buster Sword.
Yes,
It looks like there's materia in it.
Yep. So other full disclosure, I watched this trailer a couple times when I was at the diner, but again, I was entertaining and being entertained by fellow workers and everything. So I was kind of, I watched it and then watched it again when I caught a lull. But when I got back to the room, reactions were all over the place. The first one that popped up for me was Easy Allies, so I watched them, and I can't remember if I forget if it was Ben or Michael Huber, but someone was like, oh, his materia is in the sword. It's in the sword, and Huber goes, confirm, never changing Buster Sword, never changing from it. And I was like, come on, Mike, come on, man. Other swords have materia, but I feel you, brother. I feel you. Something else I noticed about Cloud, you probably did not, Chris. This is curious to see if they change this forever. So Cloud confirmed for shaving his underarms. Has no manly hair underneath those arms that I can tell. But whatever.
I mean, it's a Japanese game. So.
Yeah, it's a Japanese game. It is how it is.
But did you notice Barrett does have chest hair?
He does. Because Barrett's a manly man. Good God, that picture of Eris looking up at the screen with those bright fucking green Mako eyes. I'm like, but we haven't even talked about this part of this trailer yet. Trailer looks fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah, this game looks amazing.
From the little movie cutscenes to the battle scenes, the action that you see, all that. There's one scene that I'm seeing now, Chris. So Barrett is strafing backwards, basically shooting an enemy, and you can see in the foreground, closer to the enemy, Cloud's up there with a sword ready to attack. So your perspective in these battles is also going to be interesting. Not only for the perspective just to look at. You know, imagine a field that's as big as your house, and one end of the house there's a fight, and the other end's the house of the fight, but you're in the neighbor's yard watching this battle. It's also, how are you going to control? You know, are you swapping between characters on the fly? Are you I basically assuming you're going to have an AI controlling, or does it kind of play like a pseudo battle where as soon as it comes time for you to control, the camera goes to you? You know?
Yeah, so we see a few different areas, and these are assumptions based on graphics. We have no idea if this is for sure. But we have train tracks, the train graveyard, the sewer, and then the street, or kind of, I think, the environments, and the reactor, of course. I think those are the big areas, which pretty much encompasses all of Midgar, of course. But there are various scenes, and some of them have combat, some of them don't. The ones that have UI... The one on the train tracks where you have Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud, there are L2, R2 prompts to switch between characters. Now, on the one where, I don't know if it's apps, which we're assuming it's apps based on what it looks like, but there's also another scene where it only has Cloud up as far as controls go, but you have Barrett and Tifa with you. So maybe they're not controllable at that point. Oh, I wonder if this is... I don't even want to guess at this point. But at this point, you're only controlling Cloud, it looks like. So maybe there are sections where they're helping in fights. Like, there's a iconic scene where, you know, Barrett and Tifa are on the opposite side of an enemy, Airbuster.
Yep.
And maybe that's what this scene is. It doesn't match, though. But a similar scene where they're on the other side, so you don't control them. You only control Cloud. I don't know. Or maybe this is just because it's an early version and they didn't, you know, have that in at that point or whatever. This is all speculation.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, I'll tell you what's not speculation anymore, because it's been confirmed. It wasn't confirmed during this press conference, during this trailer that I saw. It was actually today that I've seen the news reports, is that one of the big questions going around after this trailer was announced, even with the, hey, we've got more coming in June, is this game still going to be episodic? Square Enix has reported that, yes, this game will still be episodic. So
yeah, that was the other thing when I mentioned it was Midgar. That was kind of the concern, is okay, episode 1 is going to be Midgar.
How do you still feel about that, man?
I don't want it to be episodic. And I think before I make a final judgment on it will be price point. And I don't even know then, really. Would I pay $150 for a 3-part Final Fantasy VII remake? Realistically, yeah, I'm totally going to do it, whatever they do. I'm going to pay for it and buy it. Do I want to? Not really.
If I'm looking at this, okay, if I'm looking at just what I have seen in the previous trailer from, I don't know, like 4 fucking years ago, and this one just now, and especially when more gets revealed in this next whatever they show in June, Final Fantasy VII is that good. I'm not saying is that good to me. And I am totally cool with the battle system being different. I can live with that. I am not so bolted down to the original battle system that I can't. I see the action in this new battle system, and I can live with it. It's about Chris, it's about the areas. It's about the towns that you go to. It's about the music. It's about the setting. It's about the way the characters are written, the story. All that is where I need things to work correctly. Materia, that's going to be kind of an iffy thing. You know, how are they going to make, just like you said earlier, we didn't see any magic being cast. That's fine. We also didn't see a menu showing materia. We do see the Buster Sword with materia on it, but I need to know that materia system was fucking solid. If I'm being real here, audience and Chris, if I'm getting on a high horse and just speaking my mind about it, the battle system of Final Fantasy VII was another fucking RPG battle system. I mean, wow, whoop-de-doo. If that goes away or gets changed to something different or better, I'm okay with that. The materia system, I liked the way that materia system was. I liked hooking materia to people and learning magic over time and being able to have, I can cast this spell because I have this materia attached to me. Chris, just the sound effect of the chink of putting the materia in there. I need that. I need that there. The battle system aside, from what I can see in this trailer, they're stylizing it a bit. I mean, Cloud's outfit looks like Cloud's outfit. Aerith looks like Aerith, or Aerith looks like Aerith. I mean, this shit looks like what I remember. As long as that feel stays through, battle system aside, you damn right I'll pay $150 for a trilogy. Again, yeah, do I want to? No. But this is a company saying we are going balls to the wall to give you, the fan, not not trying to mass appeal to everybody again. We feel we'll do that as an aside. But you, the Final Fantasy fan, you, Chris, who have played this game more than once, will enjoy what this is this is not a fan service. This is a service to the fans. So, yeah.
But I can't get over how good it looks.
Yeah. It looked really good. I mean, just watching Cloud walk around and talk and hearing that sullen demeanor that he's known for, and the flip side, having Aerith being all like, smiling and happy and whimsical, like you've got it. You've got it, game. Now, keep it this way.
Wedge and Jesse.
Oh, yeah. Them. Sorry, we didn't even mention those three. Like, I mean, I know they're a minor role in the game, but they are prominent in this trailer, and their outfits are there. Their characters are there. They talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There was something else I was looking at in the trailer, and I got completely sidetracked by something else I saw.
I saw the enemy. I forget its name, but it's I don't remember if it's a minor boss or just a minor enemy. It's looks like a behemoth up on two legs. It's got two glowing horns out the front. It's got chains. It's got a big ass chain.
Oh, that looked like it. We're thinking that's apps. The people I was looking at and watching on this.
Yeah.
Because that was the sewer, area it looked like.
Here's what we're gonna say, Chris, because I also saw this. I saw the another Midgar enemy, the little turtle looking things that shoot the water at you, and oh man, if I'm walking through Midgar, I've paid $65 for the first part, Chris. I'm walking through Midgar. I'm down below the Wall Market. I'm between Wall Market and the place where you meet Aerith. And I get into a battle, and I see that fucking evil house monster. I'm like, you have now solidified the other $100 that I have to pay because you guys are doing it. You didn't look at enemies and go, that looks too odd. Because there is a good compilation, audience. Go look for it's like odd enemies in Final Fantasy VII. There's you got your typical stuff. You got your behemoths and your fire bombs and all that stuff, but there are some oddities. That house one is definitely a what kind of enemy, but it's in that game, and I will always remember that being in that game. I also can't wait, Chris, to see whenever I swap over from his Buster Sword to his nail bat that it's a fucking nail bat. I can't wait to see that. But here's the kicker. When you equip armor, Chris, do you think that armor is going to change?
No.
Well, how do you think they're going to do that then? If they're trying to keep this as realistic as they can, they're going to keep the weapons different, but do you think they'll actually have armors, or do you think maybe it'll be like armor augmentations, maybe like enhancements? Like, how do you think they're going to do that?
I mean, I don't really.
Or do you think they care?
I haven't put a lot of thought into it, but just thinking offhand now about it, I don't see why there wouldn't be armor. But I don't think it'll be anything graphical. Maybe minor changes, like maybe some colorations, etc. But aside from that, not really. I think, of course, the weapons are going to change. I say, of course, they better change, or we're going to have some problems. But I don't, and I'm okay with that. I don't really care a whole lot about the armor changing.
Yeah,
it's a very minor thing.
Same here. And if it was a game that had armor that changed with the characters like many RPGs have done, then yeah, I would expect it to. But you saw Cloud all the way through, you saw Tifa all the way through, etc., and they all stayed the same except for their armor. And I'll keep it that way. I'll tell you, it will be a true to form thing if you equip, like, I don't know, a leather vest and it still stays the same. I'll be like, all right, guys. They're like, yeah, we want to keep it true. We don't care how true it is.
Now, one thought I had as we're talking about the enemies is, are we going to have random battles where we change into the battle map, or are we going to be fighting on the map itself? Because that's what 13 to 15 did.
This would be a good bet, man. I would say and it could be done. It can still be done. I don't know, man. This is a toughie because, okay, when you have an area that's tight, like, again, making that trek in the beginning of the game from the area, the church where you met Eris, to the place, the little town, and then making that trek up to the wall market area. Those areas that you walk through were not that big. And I'm saying that in this perspective. If you have no enemies on that area, then you're doing random battles, so you just walk across the area and enemies pop up. If you now take Cloud's perspective, I wish this is the first time that I've actually wished that we were a video podcast so I could show what I'm saying. But audience, if you want to look up any wall market type map area from the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, specifically look for a picture that has Cloud on that map and blow it up where you see the entire walkable area. Now shove enemies in that area to scale, like the house monster. That I'm specifically thinking one area, Chris. You know that had the little construction equipment, like the backhoe thing. You had to walk up the plank of wood. You know what I'm talking about. Now
that was the wall market thing,
right? Now, cut that. Pause that. Now think of the battle when you actually fought that house monster. You know what? I need to look this up because I'm tired of calling it Evil House. It had a fucking name. I'm sorry, I'm getting anal about this because this is Final Fantasy VII and it deserves the truth. Hell House. Thank you. I should know that. All right, I'm looking at a picture right now of Cloud to scale up to the Hell House monster. He's big. It would take it. It's like if you lay Cloud out in some areas, it would take like 12 Clouds to freaking make this Hell House to scale. Now, go back to that map that you see Cloud walking around on. Now start populating 4, 5, 6 Hell Houses on that map, plus the other enemies that you also fight in that same area. I think it'd be a bit crowded, and I think so when you kill, let's say they go, okay, we understand your point, so we're going to have 2 Hell Houses, 2 of these monsters, 2 of these monsters, and 2 of these monsters. Okay, what happens when I kill all those? Well, you'd have to leave the screen and then come back. Okay, so our screen... Now, Chris, this brings up the question, are the areas going to be screen transition? Or are you going to be able to just walk free flow through like Witcher or God of War or Grand Theft Auto? You know? How is the camera perspective, not only the perspective of the battle, going to change, but is the screen transition still going to be there? You know,
yeah, I think we'll see a hybrid. I think we'll see a hybrid approach. There will be areas where it's a hard cut, especially if it's something story related that gives a reason for that cut. But I think like going through the reactor, I think that's going to be like one big area. At least I hope that's what it is. One of the things, talking about this kind of both things at once, I went to the section of the trailer where they have the countdown timer, you know, that part at the beginning of the game. And we do not see any enemies on the map in what little area we see. So unless there's no enemies in that countdown sequence, which doesn't make sense, that's kind of, you know, part of the premise of it. Looks like they're not going to be on the map. But man, I have my screen currently frozen on the part where Cloud is hanging from one of the pipes and shimmying across, and that's just, these environments are phenomenal. Oh yeah, and I'm only doing this now because I actually have the damn wiki pulled up. I want to make sure I get these names right. The map that I was specifically talking about is Sector 6. And the enemies that you find in this area are the Hell House and the Hole Eater. So even if that's 2 enemies, I still feel like it would be crowded a bit. You know, it'll be interesting to see how they play that. I'm sure these are things that they have thought about. I hope they have thought about and have thoroughly worked out at this point.
These are questions now, Chris, I didn't even have until just now. So awesome. This is great.
Here's a thought. What if it's not that you transition into a battle, a different battle screen, but like the enemy spawns in front of you when you get into a battle? So you don't see them on the map in general. It's still a random battle.
Yeah.
But then they, pop up in front of you as the battle music starts triggering.
What game are we thinking about? Those have done that. No.
It's something that's been done. So.
Yeah. Audience, write us in and let us know the games that have done this. You played some. You played. I don't know some too. I just can't believe right now that are not popping into my head. But yeah, it's like it's a random battle, but it's the enemies just basically appear in front of you and the music transitions. Man, did Lost Odyssey do that? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, it's something to think about. I fucking love this, man. I never thought about this until we took. This is why I couldn't wait to discuss this on this podcast. And I mean, again, going through. So we mentioned the one enemy earlier that we believe is going to be Apps, and I'm pulling up a picture of Apps too to make sure I'm thinking of the right guy too. And I know it is. Yes, it is. We also saw the oh yeah, that's totally him, totally Apps. I saw the little little turtle the monster that has the lance and it shoots a water jet at you. We see this big bipedal mechanical enemy. I'm sorry, it hasn't been too long since I played Final Fantasy VII. I just don't have all the fucking enemies down to name, but the point is, regardless of name, remembrance or not, the enemies look detailed. They look like what I remember, and they are fully like Chris. There's a scene in here where there's some like crawling. I know the enemies. I know the enemy. I remember the enemy. It's like it looks like a one of the Zerg type monsters from StarCraft, and Barrett's shooting at it. And I've played this back like 10 times as you've been talking, and he shoots. I want to say backblast is the attack he does, and it is. And he fucking shoots the missile, and it kind of sucks for this perspective because you can't fully see the enemy engulfed in flames. I really wish the camera was to the left a little bit. I'm assuming you will be able to control the camera in these fights.
Sure.
But dude, the lighting on the enemy as the missile goes toward him, the lighting effects on the surrounding areas as the attack goes forward, and the shadows change and blow up when it blows up. It's oh man, this is the detail that you wanted to see back in 7. This, if done right, will shut everybody up that ever said, yeah, Final Fantasy VII was great, but look at those crazy, silly, blocky graphics. Like, look at Cloud's hair. Look how blocky. He's got these giant forearms and little bitty muscles. Like, ugh. Well, now you get to see this shit down to the pixel quality that you want. And it looks like they are doing it justice. When you see a game that they are taking that much time and dedication to just the enemies, not just the bosses and not just the characters, but the general enemies that you're going to fight repeatedly, you know you're in good hands. Yeah.
I will say, my final thought on this is it's giving me hope again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll and my final thought will be, take your time. Take your time, Square. Do this. If you're putting this level in, 2 points. One is like a sub point. I hope Square Enix, I hope that you're not like all these other companies that are coming out of the woodwork and absolutely working your workers to the slave mentality death. Please don't do that. I am in a hurry for this game. I would love for this game to come out as soon as possible, but I want it to be done right, and I don't want people to fucking suffer over it. So churn it out, do what you gotta do, don't kill your employees, and get the game to me when it gets done. It does suck that it's coming out episodically because, again, we don't know details of how far. Define episodic. Okay, are we talking part 1's going to be Midgar, part 2 is going to be the out of Midgar to blank, and then part 3 is going to be blank to the end of the game? That's fine, but are we saying part 1 is going to be released in 2020, part 2's in 2024, part 3's in 2029? I mean, I'd like to know stuff like that, because that's... Yeah. Are we talking seasons? Are we talking about all 3 will get released in a year or 2 of each other? That's kind of what I need to know. I'm okay with it being episodic, as much as I don't like it, as long as I know the details of the episodic nature. I don't know that yet. What I do know is I have a trailer here, and it's okay. Okay, you guys are you're the only thing it seems like you're really changing is the battle system, and everything else that I see is paying a solid tribute. Is treating this stuff with the care that it needs to be treated with. And I'm digging it. I really am. I didn't have this much hype before I saw this trailer, but now I have, and now I'm in. I'm ready to have it. Yep. So, what about you, audience? Let's start from the ground up. Do you like video games? I'm sorry that you had to hear 2 hours of Marvel Cinematic Universe talk. But if you're an MCU fan, you'll understand why. If you're not, get on that shit. Do you like RPGs if you like video games? You do? Well, how many Final Fantasies have you played? Have you played Final Fantasy VII? How many times have you played it? Do you enjoy it? Have you seen this trailer? And has this trailer got you interested? That question's for all of you. If you haven't seen a Final Fantasy VII trailer, and you've never played a Final Fantasy VII game, or never played a Final Fantasy period, go check the trailer out. See if maybe this now interests you. Because hopefully this will... as well as treat fans with dignity and respect and give them what they're craving, this will also bring a new audience in. You know, when they see this level of detail and this level of graphics, it's given me hope that I can see Advent Children levels, if not better, levels of graphics in a Final Fantasy VII game. And that's awesome. That's awesome. What about the Spider-Man 2 trailer that came out? The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer that came out? Did you watch that? How steeped in the MCU are you? What hopes do you have for the MCU in the future? What enemies are you looking to see? What franchises are you hoping to get brought in? And trust me, don't be scared to bring up obscure things, you know, because again, to me, Guardians of the Galaxy was way out of left field, and they just shone that with a great light. So if you have some weird, what you think obscure character or group of characters, it may be obscure to you, but the MCU will go, we got you. Do you have faith that they can do that? Any Marvel stuff that you want to talk about, we love to discuss that stuff with you. Are you playing through Secure right now? Have you been playing Magic the Gathering? Anything that we talked about in this episode, we would love to discuss with you. And there are many ways that you can get that information to us. We have a Facebook page. You can go to Facebook and search for End of Time Cast. It should take you right to our page. It may be how you found this episode right here. We have an email address. You can email us at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it just like you heard it. We have a Twitter page. You can find us there. You can tweet us. You can retweet us. We have our episodes up on SoundCloud, where we're mainly hosted at. We have them up on YouTube. We have the End of Time Cast. If you put that in quotes in Google, that should take you to any of our old episodes. It'll take you to many places where you can comment to us, write us, and get in touch with us some way. We'd love to discuss things with you. You'll probably get your comment or email read on here, and it will spur some discussion between us, I guarantee. So yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the End of Time Cast. And until next time, I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.